super loud. All right. I don't think this thing can hear me. Let me move this mic some. All right. Let's get this right. Sorry, y'all. Hold on. I'm trying to get this right here. All right. I think y'all can hear me. All right. Let me sit tight for a sec. All right. That's still not loud enough, man. All right. All right. Let's try this again. All right. Can you guys hear me? Because I can't hear anything. I have my stereo or the speaker turned down. If you guys can hear me, just give me some kind of notification in the chat. Hey, Jalil. Can y'all hear me? I don't know if you guys can hear me. My mic is telling me y'all hear nothing. I don't believe my mic. Oh, see? Knew the microphone was lying. All right. Let's chill for a few minutes. Let a few folks get on, and then we will crank it. All right. By the way, apparently from the last time, I need to get some moderators on here. So do any of you want to also be moderators? Because I was over here just in my lane having a good time, and apparently there were a bunch of trolls. So I had no idea though. So okay, True Potential, I got you. Hold on. Boom. Anybody else? Because I don't know if all y'all gonna be able to hang it the whole time. Thank you. I got you too. Hold up. Boom. He said you'll curse out too many. Yeah, look, man, listen. All right, let me. Thanks, Alan. Alan's always a bro dog, always. Add moderator. All right, so it's like 3 of y'all. I'll add maybe 2 more as we get along. All right. Shout out to Baltimore. Who we got on here? We got I'm trying to adjust my little laptop here. Got Jalil, True Potential, Kelly, Ariana, Shanti, Shanisi, sorry. Mama Mimi, hey Ma, Sam J, Cartoon Lover. Cartoon Lover be like supporting all my stuff. They're on like every post, every video. I support you for that. Thank you. Some of you, I just made mods. You should be able to get the notification for it, I think. So True Potential, Alan, was it Mactabro? You should have the access to it as well. Shout out to Alan. I didn't know you were in Everett. Okay, down the street. Well, not down the street, but like down the street from the hometown. Okay, Florida. Shout out to Florida. Get your state together though. All right. Who's that? Healthy Girl, Brielle, Girl Interrupted. I see you on a lot of stuff too. Oh, all right. Look at Washington State trying to make me look good. All right, home people. Good news. Janet will be in Australia. Oh, okay. Good for Australia. She's been kind of like touring a lot, huh? Lately. Hey, Desmond. Raywin, what's up, man? Comedic Soul, Jamie, Marlon Harrison, Nebraska. Shout out to Nebraska. Natasha from Oklahoma. Let's see. Florida. Sorry, Calvin, I have to go for some. No worries. You all good, True Potential. All right. Let me get one more volunteer to be a moderator. That way y'all can regulate. I'm gonna try, bro. You're all good. I just love here though. Hey, nothing against Florida. Florida's all right. Y'all just got some crazy people over there. That's okay. Every state got some crazy folks. I'm from Washington State. That's the top line of crazy. Florida just has like those what the heck stories. Washington State has all the psycho killers like the Green River Killer and Ted Bundy and the DC sniper shooter and all of them crazy ones. So I'm gonna drag my laptop down here real quick. Let's see if I can move this around. Boom, I like this more. That way y'all don't gotta laugh at my big forehead. James Hudson, you're on a lot of videos too. What's up? Hey, Olympia. One that got away. I'm trying to figure out where to put this thing without it falling off my little desk here. Okay, think we got it. All right. Oh, Jeremiah. All right, I got you. Or Jeremiah. Hey, Captain Ramsey. Jamie. All right, I think we're good on mods. I'm gonna let Jamie be my last one. All right, let's chill for about 2 or 3 more minutes, and then we'll jump into it. Happy birthday, Alan, by the way. I'm a fellow Leo as well. My birthday was on the 1st, y'all. So yes, August birthdays are always the best. Unless you were a kid and you didn't get to have the birthday party in class. I've been good. Cannot complain. I bought my water this time. I was so thirsty on the last live. Anyway, Thank you. Tatiana Ross. Thank y'all. Appreciate it. Can't believe I'm 21. August 11th. Okay, I ain't really like 21, but I used to be 21 at some point in life. Yes. I told all the kids I was working with I turned 24, and they would not have it with me. They're like, no, you ain't no 24 no more. You wish. That's all right, though. But I'm actually going to celebrate my birthday next week. So next week, I am traveling to the West Coast for a few days. I'm going to start off in Oakland, catch up with my family on that side. Then I'm going to go to LA for about 3 days. And then I'm going to finish in Vegas because I said I was going to see the Metamorphosis show. So I'm going to catch the very last night of the Metamorphosis show. All right, few people. California, shout out to y'all. September 26th. I think that's my grandma's birthday. I think that was my grandma's. Either my grandma or one of my aunts. My birthday's in a few weeks. All right, 47. Is it weird that I'm excited to get older, like much older, like 50s, 60s? Like I look forward to those years. I mean, yeah, I'm enjoying the youthful age, even though I think I'm kind of transitioning out of like the youthful stage. But my arms look like I got muscle today. All right, okay, I'm wearing this shirt a bit more often. All right, the last show date, Shawnee, is the 17th. What up, Lindsay? Listen, like I said, yo, she got a music video out. I have a shout out series video coming out next week, but her video is in that series. Definitely check out the video. I'm trying to see if I can pull up the title. Lindsay, type in the chat what the name of your video is. She actually has a bit of music that's out. Definitely a great person to follow. All the out of state people running from the snow messed up the state. Hold on, Brielle, where are you from? I gotta go back up and see what you were saying. Brielle. Yeah, Brielle, where are you from? I had like a cough right here. I don't know what that came from. It's like dusty outside or something. 21. Oh, to be 21 again. Florida. There we go. Love to mention Lindsay. So definitely check her out. Happy birthday. Don't get drunk doing this live chat on your 21st. Listen, this is water. I told y'all I cut back on drinking. I don't really drink anymore. I'll do wine every blue moon. Now, at the beginning of let me see, when I had my birthday last year, I was like, I don't want to drink no more. I'm in like this new phase of life where I'm gonna be super healthy and I'm cutting back on like beef and I'm gonna eat like nothing but healthy stuff. And so from like that August until about February, I didn't drink anything. And then I was like, I can at least do some wine on occasion, maybe a cocktail. So I'm not a super big drinker. All right, let me get this cough together real quick and then we're gonna start. So let me get this crap together. My goodness. Be right back. That would sound like I got dang. What's it called? Boom. All right. I'm back. Gotta get my back support here. All right, folks. Let's jump into a few things. That's a good thing. If you, Alan, you're only 21. Alan, I feel like you've been following me for years. I would have thought you were closer to my age, but okay. Look at me inspiring the latter generations. Alan has a really cool channel too. You guys should check out Alan Lewis. He has a lot of like music stuff on there. He's somebody I think who has a really great appreciation for music, but not just contemporary stuff that you normally hear on like radio, but just kind of like a little bit of everything. So definitely check out his channel. All right, let's move on. A bunch of Leos in here today. I heard we're hated. Apparently, people don't like Leos, but whatever. It's okay. I have a friend who I don't know if Dana's on here, but she was getting me in line with all my other like astrology things. I'm not really into astrology, but she's letting me know that I don't know if it's my sunrise. I don't know what these things mean. One of the signs is Scorpio. I know I'm a Leo, and then the other one is Aries. I said, aren't those all like the fighter signs? So, but apparently my Scorpio energy balances out my Leo energy, and then if I got to pop off, that's when the Aries side jumps in. Anyway, jumping in. All right, so to start a few things out, let's see who. I'm trying to read the last few comments before I really get into the video. Sorry, guys. All right. So, a lot of you guys have been asking me because I did post. There was kind of like a hiatus I went on for about 2 weeks because I said I had a family emergency. If you follow my podcast, and for those who are new, because I've been getting a lot of newer subscribers who may be out of the loop because my podcast had been on pause for about 4 months while I finished my album. if you follow the Comedically Hard-Headed podcast, there was an episode, and it's also on the YouTube channel. And I talked about, I think the title's like SmackDown Summer at Grandma's or something like that. But I talked about my cousin Michaela, who, one, she was, I guess in that, there's three grandkids in my mom's side of the family. It was me, my cousin Brandon, who's on the album, by the way, and my oldest cousin Tiffany. It was always us three. And then the next generation of grandkids came. And Michaela was one of those kids that were part of the next generation. But she had a condition called Prader-Willi syndrome. And Prader-Willi syndrome is a unique syndrome where it's actually a couple of things. One, genetically, your organs don't develop as fast. And so a lot of people are given growth hormones to help the organs and everything develop, because sometimes a lot of the babies don't even make it past childbirth. And then it also gives, as far as the syndrome, an element of dwarfism. It depends on which element of the spectrum you're in. And so there's kind of like a dwarfism bit that's in there. But she was 4'9", so she was short, but she wasn't super short. But the main bit that comes from that syndrome is your body has no metabolism. Like literally any and everything you eat stays on you. In addition to that, your body doesn't tell you when you're full. So if you're not careful, you can literally sit and eat yourself to death. Now, the version that she had wasn't too extreme, and she was still very social. She was still able to read and write and everything like that. But long story short, because she gained so much weight, unfortunately, it's one of the things that kind of usually take people out. And with her condition, most people only live to be 11 or 12 with that condition if they have the version she had, but she lived to be 21. And the good thing was I literally had just went to her graduation from high school a month and a half ago. And the craziest bit? Literally, when we did the last live video, just as I had signed out was when I got the call. Like I just signed off live a few weeks ago. And literally as I laid down, her mom called and was like, hey, she's not doing well. Just say a prayer. And then something already told me like, yeah, she's gone. And yeah, so she passed that night. And the craziest bit, she passed on the exact same day to within the hour that my father passed. So, my father passed on July 11th. But really on the East Coast, it was July 12th because it was like 1 a.m. I was at the club when I got the call that my dad had passed out in the house. And so with Michaela, I think when we got off live, it was maybe 11:30 or something like that. And then I made me like my little ginger tea with my turmeric and stuff in it because y'all told y'all I'm over here fake healthy. And then lay down. I don't remember what I was watching. And then right before 1 o'clock was when the mom called and was like, hey, Michaela, this, that, and the third. And then 20 minutes later, Michaela was gone. I was like, literally within the same hour, she died, just 4 years to the day of my father dying. And then some other bits that are crazy is my cousin Brandon, and I talked about this in the very first episode of my podcast. His daughter, she was born exactly the same day within the hour that our grandmother died in 2010, on May 13th. It was like absolutely crazy. And then his other daughter, because he has another daughter, she was born on the same day that our grandfather died, but just years earlier. Like our grandfather died in 84, way before I was born. And then Bella was born like 2 years ago, but literally on the same day. So I was like, listen, I don't know if we want to have no more kids in this family because every time somebody born, somebody got to die. I don't know. Anyway, but all is well. I was a little sad about it because my mother's side of the family is a little bit smaller than my father's, and we're all close and everything. And if you heard the podcast episode, there's a lot of funny stories in there with Michaela, but she was a sweetheart, man. She was dope, and her graduation party, it was the perfect way to kind of see her off because something told me I probably wasn't going to see her again after I went to the graduation. Like she had a graduation, we had this big giant party for her, and the coolest thing, because of course she was special needs, and with public schooling you can stay in school until you're 21. But when we threw her graduation party, all her classmates were there. She had like a whole head table with her and her friends from school. And the biggest lesson I got out of it was that, I think sometimes when it comes to people who are special needs, I think because sometimes we can't see through the same lens that they see, or we just live in a different world than them. Sometimes we often, I don't want to say we ignore or we just kind of block out people, but that party just reminded me that, listen, people are human. Like to hear her friends kind of talk about the friendships that they made over the years, because a lot of these kids have been with Michaela in class for years. Because, if you're special needs and you're in the same school district, you and all your classmates keep moving. So unlike us who are in regular, I don't want to say the word regular, that's you know what I mean? But those of us who are in the classes with the mainstream students, every year you got a new class, a new teacher. But for some of these students, they had the same teacher, the same classmates for years, 8, 9, 10, 15 years. And so, these people really grew up together. The only sad bit, man, was the funeral, having to watch her friends. because all of her friends were also, they had a bunch of different conditions as well. But that was the sad part, like watching the friends say goodbye. I was like, man, this kid took all my peppermint. I just gave him my peppermint because I felt bad. But yeah. But I would definitely say she was loved. And I think that's another bit too. When you talk about people who are not even just special needs, but even when they're also physically disabled, if they have conditions, I always tell people, because some folks are always like, well, what do you do in that situation? Because with Michaela, it was a lot of work, because even though she functions like everybody else, that syndrome will kick in, and you got to know where to fall in. And one of the aspects and one of the things that we always had to do, like with her gaining the weight, was, she was no longer in a position where she could clean herself, like if she had to use the bathroom. So you have to be mature enough and go help her do that, stuff like that. But I always tell people when they're like, what do you do in that situation? How do you manage? It's like, there's nothing to manage. You love the person. You know what I mean? You give them love and you meet them where they are, and it is what it is. And when I was younger, it was harder for me at first, especially when she started gaining weight, because I used to kind of be embarrassed to go in public with her because everybody used to stare at us. Now, at the time, I was like 12 or 13. And then after a while, you become protective. Like, I used to want to fight all the kids at her school, because when she first started going to school, she didn't have a lot of friends. And so we'd pick her up from school. And then I'd get pissed because she'd be sitting at the table all by herself, and none of the kids want to play with her. Like, you want to go snatch her, people like, get over there and go play with my cousin. Like, but she was such a sweet girl. I have this picture? I don't know if you guys can see it from here. But this is like her. Oh, this light's too bright. Dang, man, I can't. I'm trying to get it in the right. Damn, can't get it right. Stupid light. Oh, hold on. Let me block this light out. This is her. You guys can't really tell that well, but anyway, this was her. We'll share a little bit later. But it is what it is. That's why you appreciate people while they're here. And so I have no regrets. And that's that. Anyway, let's see what we're talking about really quick. I didn't mean to start off on such a low note. We're gonna get happier in a minute. Let me just get through all the hard bits first. I just needed to explain why I was gone for like 2 weeks. It's been crazy how you mentioned Toni. Oh yeah, we're definitely about to talk about Toni Morrison. Give me like one more minute. Yes. Mm-hmm. Tina Turner was already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame conversations. Mm-hmm. All right. I appreciate it. Lots of condolences. Thank you. Y'all are not playing with these conversations. What did this say? Wake up to reality. Racism will always be. We'll get there. Let's ease into it, folks. All right. I do want to switch gears here though. Let's talk about Toni Morrison for 1 second. If you didn't know at this point, Toni Morrison recently passed away, which is it's always sad to see people go, but I always say it's even better to see that they lived and that they contributed to society. And Toni Morrison was somebody who was blessed with 88 years on this planet. And in those 88 years, she did so much when you're talking about the literature and the conversation she was able to open, especially when it came to race, when it came to womanism, when it came to just life, when it came to the plight of the Black experience in this country. She will always be remembered for that. I said it in the news, but there was a really great documentary that recently came out. I think movie theaters have extended it. Let me make sure I have the right title for it, because I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. Morrison documentary. The title. Oh yeah. The Pieces I Am. It's a great watch. It's an excellent watch. So if it's in your theater, try to check it out. Most likely, it's not going to be in the mainstream theaters. You're going to have to go to one of the theaters that have independent films and everything like that. So that's where I saw that. That's also where I saw The Last Black Man in San Francisco and a few other ones. Also, the documentary they had on the Aretha Franklin Amazing Grace concert. Usually you can find that in the independent theaters. But Toni Morrison was really great. I don't have a favorite book yet because I haven't finished all her books. Right now, I'm still reading The Bluest Eye, but I went ahead and I got all her books. And this was before she died. Like after I saw the documentary, I was like, let me get in the mix here, because I knew of Beloved mainly because there was a movie when I was a kid, and I knew about a lot of like just the interviews, and I knew about her getting was it the Pulitzer Prize and Nobel Peace Prize for literature. I knew about that and everything, but there were some books like Sula. Songs of Solomon I haven't really gotten a chance to get to. So what I wanted to do was, and y'all can do it with me if you want to, and we can have like a mini book club in like 5 months or something like that. I just wanted to start with all of her literature pieces and go in order, because I want to kind of see the progression with each book, because in the documentary they talk about how her writing styles just developed more and more and more as you got through each book. What I've noticed in The Bluest Eye is that she does a great job of capturing the essence of the lead character and telling the story through a child's eye. At first, when I was reading it, I was like, wait a minute, what? I used to have to keep reading the page over again, because when you first start the book, I think it starts off with the child describing the house, and it's like the house is green, pretty house, red, greenhouse, house in the day. I was like, huh? I kept reading that thing. I was like, I ain't had that much to drink yet. Let me read this again. Hold on. So, but then once I understood that, okay, this is through the lens of somebody who's like a child, 6 or 7 years old, processing everything they see as they matriculate through their day. Okay, this makes sense. So she's a brilliant writer. She does a great job of the detail. When she writes a book, if she's going to tell you about a car, not only is it a car, she's going to talk about the color of the car and what the car smells like. And when the person got in the car, if it was 90 degrees outside that day, did the heat that you feel when you sit in that car and there's that just that wave of heat that's hitting you, what did that feel like? What did the car smell like? Did somebody have McDonald's earlier and they dropped like 3 fries behind the seat, and so the car still smells like fries? And when they turn the car on, did they forget to turn the radio down? And so when they turned the car on, the music just started blasting and scared everybody in the car and everything like that. And then the windshield wipers, was there one windshield wiper that didn't wipe as good, and so it kept leaving the street? Like, she's very detail oriented, so you just go into another space reading her material. And I also love that she was very unapologetic with her blackness. Some of the criticism she received was that people kept saying she only writes about black folks. She only talks about black stuff. She doesn't talk about the rest of us. She's not inclusive. And she was quick to shut that down and just let you know, like, listen, it's actually very racist to get offended that somebody's talking about their experience. And why is it that blackness is not considered mainstream? Why is it that in order to be considered mainstream, you have to align with what the majority population wants to see? And so she did a great job of shaking the table with that. And forcing people to step outside of their, what's normal to them, their cognitive lens, how they see everything, forcing people to break outside of that. And I think what's important with her literature is her literature humanizes black people. When you talk about those who see us from another lens, who always think we're threatening or think we're just this unique group of people who nobody can understand, her books humanize us. Her books put other people in our shoes to understand our plight just for those 200 or 300 pages. And that's always dope. So she is someone who will always be, greatly missed, but more so appreciated than missed, because I think her legacy will carry on for decades and decades. And the fact that many of us have had to read her material when we were in high school already pretty much solidifies that. And I think one other bit that I really enjoyed about her experience is she didn't start writing until she was much older. I know a lot of us, we feel that we're too old to do certain things, or we feel that, that window of opportunity for everything you wanted to do closed at 25. And because she was so much older, it just goes to show you that literally you don't know where your life goes. It's you're on this road and you don't know where the road is going to take you. It's like if you go on a road trip from, I don't know, LA to Charlotte across the country. Your GPS may have told you one route, but on your way there, there's going to be a detour somewhere. There's going to be construction on some side. They got to close that. There may have been an accident. Your GPS is going to say a faster route, go this way. There may be a flood. You may stop in the city and you may go see some other stuff. And, so you never know where life is going to take you, which is one of the reasons why I think we have to get out of the habit of thinking that everything that's important in your life will happen before the age of 25. I think when we're all 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, we think that by the time you're 25, 26, 27, everything will be aligned. You'll be married. You have this big giant house. You have your dream job. If you went to college, you'll be a millionaire by then, and everything will be perfect. And then you get to that age, and life is like, nah, that ain't happening yet. You gotta wait. We're gonna take you on a few more detours. You're gonna do some other stuff. So there's that. Anyway, where are we at? I didn't mean to start ranting here. What are we talking about, folks? Tina Turner still. Sorry for your loss. I'm kind of scrolling really fast, so I'm not gonna be able to see everybody's comment. Good evening. All right, y'all are funny. Bluest Eye is my favorite book by Toni Morrison. Yeah, it's been a good read so far. Stevie Wonder's getting I saw Stevie Wonder getting a kidney transplant. Let's hope that goes well, because I'm not putting nothing into the universe, but everything better go well, because if it doesn't, I'm taking about 3, 4, 5 days off of work. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you, Nobel Prize for writing. Let's see. Book club. All right. Yes, that's right, Sherry. Morrison is going to make you work when you read her books. You know what it reminds me of? It's kind of like when people would watch a Whitney Houston performance and think that they could sing along with her. Could never happen, because Whitney would never sing any song the same way. Like, she could go on tour. Like, the coolest thing with somebody like Whitney Houston is she has a really dope fan base that has so much footage of all of her concerts, even if you can't see her and you just hear the audio. And so you can get like one tour. And what's an example? Like, I enjoyed her rendition of Aretha Franklin's Hurts Like Hell that she did on the My Love Is Your Love tour. And so I listened to like 8 different versions of her performing that from different cities, and each time she sang the song totally different. I was like, you got to have some skill to have that kind of confidence to sing a song differently each time you perform it. Because I don't know, but man, yeah, somebody like Whitney, you couldn't just sing along. You'd be thinking she'd go on somewhere and she'd take you somewhere else. Um, Beloved was good. Can we talk about? Wait, can we talk about someone taking a nude pic of who? Who's Audra while performing? Is that Audrey O'Day? I don't know that story. Um, y'all already talking about Whitney in here too. Y'all be having some whole conversations while I do my little rants here. A lot of us have read the Bluest Eye. Okay, yeah, she definitely was 39 or 40 when she started, so it's never too late. It's kind of like told my when I first was starting to do music, I was like, okay, you're already like past 25. You doing music now? And I was like, music is what it is. There's no age on certain sounds. You know what I mean? All right, moving right along, folks. Let's jump into the next topic here. What did I write on my phone? Um, oh, I did want to share this James Baldwin quote. And mainly because I wanted to say it in my video when we were talking about the El Paso bit, and I don't think I shared it, but there's a James Baldwin quote that I really enjoyed because I think this is in response to, well, let me backtrack. What I noticed with everything that's been going on in this country as far as race is, people keep trying to coddle behind the idea of, oh, we're just disagreeing, or, we just don't want to be politically correct, or, the country needs to come together. We're so divided. And the problem is a lot of people are hiding behind racist viewpoints and trying to, mask it as, oh, we just disagree, or, oh, we just see things differently. I'm like, no, not when you're endorsing something that systematically disenfranchises people. It doesn't work that way. James Baldwin has a quote that says, we can disagree and still love each other. Cool. Unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist. I think more people kind of have to see things through that lens. I think that shuts up a lot of people real quick. But the other issue with that quote is that those people would have to agree that what they're doing is oppressive to others. I said that we did a video on white privilege years ago, maybe 2013, 2014. And I said in that video, in order to even have a conversation about something like white privilege, the other person has to already agree that there's some kind of privilege that exists or that there's an element of racism in this country. Otherwise, your whole conversation is going to be you trying to explain to them why you're not attacking them individually and why you're talking about something that's done on a macro scale. You know what I mean? But there's that. What else we got on here? I don't know who Audra. Can you explain who Audra is? Who said that? I don't know who that is. Who is that? I really don't know who. Is it Audra O'Day? Is that the girl that sings "Rise Up"? I don't know. Y'all have to enlighten me in the comment section. Um, yeah, I don't know. We'll come back to it. Moving right along, folks. Let's see. While we're still on this subject, somebody asked me to talk about Tucker Carlson. Listen, I don't even watch Fox News enough to care. And I've kind of addressed him because I didn't like what he said about Maxine Waters at that time when he tried to roast her wig, acting like he didn't have that thin ass hair on his head. But, pretty much he went on this whole spiel about how, I guess, white supremacy and everything like that is a hoax. By the way, I do want you to know I don't like using the phrase white supremacy. I don't like that idea of supremacy because to me it means that, how do I word it? I just think we need another phrase. I'll just say that. We need another phrase. Not because it's trying to like coddle in a group of people. It's just something, I feel like there's power that's given behind that phrase when you say it. Like, so we don't have to come up with another phrase. Even superiority, I don't know if I even like that phrase either. It all means something, but I think we got to come up with another phrase. But anyway, he was going on this rant about, how white nationalism, supremacy, all that stuff is a hoax and it's something put together by left-wing media to divide the country. Remember how I said folks keep talking about that divide, we're dividing people. And the issue with his statements, well, one is Fox News, so you know what you're getting out of it. But the other bit is that you can't deny what happens in this country when you're talking about race and racism and oppression and institutionalized anything, because it's all back. It's supported by laws. You have policy, you have things on record to always combat that. The issue with a lot of the people who always have their 2 cents to say about race and always try to shut people down who bring it up is that all they can give is opinion. They can only give opinion. They can only give how they feel. And a lot of times that opinion, what backs that opinion or what supports their opinion is pretty much how they feel and how they see the world. You know what I mean? Like literally the only thing giving validity to their arguments are themselves. So they think that they're in a position to be an expert on a topic, and they give you no facts, they give you nothing tangible, they only give you how they feel. And they feel that because they feel it, you're supposed to adhere to whatever they feel, because indirectly they don't realize that they're doing it, but indirectly they're giving you that superiority and complex where you're supposed to listen to what they said because I said it. And another thing they do is they'll laugh, for crying out loud, give me a break. And so, it's always like, yeah, so I can sit here and just give you a bookload of facts and folks still get mad. I'm like, the funniest bit was the Steve Harvey video. And even that video wasn't even really about like going after, well, we still went about it, but really it was an in-house conversation. We were just talking about the wealth gap. And in that video, I gave fact after fact after fact after fact. I mean, facts with the redlining and facts with housing and facts with how the middle class was created and how it was socially constructed and how the middle class that we have in 2019 was not the same middle class we had in the 1800s. And I mean, facts after facts. Then somebody come in there and say, oh, your mind is in the wrong place, brother. You need more love. And I'm like, dang, man, y'all don't be getting it. You don't get it. And it's okay. That's why it's like you can't win over everybody. And at the end of the day, my main MO is to educate my community before anybody else. No disrespect. I empathize with everybody's struggle across the board. But at the end of the day, I'm Black before I'm anything else. And my community is my first priority because nobody has our back except for us. I think there is a thing called allies, but I've never seen allies on a macro scale or from a collective standpoint. If there are allies, they come from individual standpoints. It's never anything massive. So, and I mean that from a place of love. We have to really look out for ourselves because nobody else is going to do it for us. Some people will align with our struggles, but collectively, the same demographic in which they come from, they tend to not to. And so, there's that. All right, let's check in. I'm trying to do a better job of checking in with the comments so I don't rant for 50,000 hours. Cucumber challenge. I saw that. Listen, it's 2019. Folks are gonna do what they do. Y'all just over here wasting. Y'all over here wasting vegetables. People starving all around the world. Here y'all got cucumbers just doing all kind of stuff. All right, y'all do y'all. I just hope y'all don't be cutting up them cucumbers and feeding them to your kids afterwards. That's some trifling stuff. Eat them cucumbers. Eat them vegetables. Anyway, oh, somebody's shouting at my little bear in the back. Yeah, that's my little supersonic. Well, that's a Supersonics hat. And Seahawks bear, but I'm still beefing with the NFL, but I like the bear. Emotional 2000. Yeah, nationalist could be one, but the idea of, and he or she's talking about, well, how I said we need a different phrase other than white supremacy or superiority. This person was saying like white nationalism, and that works, but the issue is, the white supremacy, it's more than just a national issue, it's global. And so I don't know. I'm gonna come back to y'all on that one. I'm gonna come up with a new phrase. Maybe there's already one I don't know about, but All right. Hold on. What is this here? Okay. Did I? Hold on. Sorry, guys. Read something. All right. Can you talk about the guy in New York who forgot his twin kids in a hot car? Oh, I never buy someone accidentally leaving their kid in the car to die. That. That's tough. And it's tough because, one, I do think a lot of parents do that crap on purpose, but you do have what I've seen, and some of the research has shown it, a lot of these parents, or at least some of these parents, who accidentally leave their kids in the car during the summer and the kids die of, a whole bunch of heat stroke or whatever else, or dehydration. A lot of the times it's a working class family where the parent is overworked, where the parent doesn't get enough sleep, where the parent's already stressed out. And because they're so busy trying to mend and appease all of their responsibilities, some of them really do get in this space where they go to work and they were in such a rush to get there, they totally didn't even realize that the kid was in the back, especially if it's like a baby and the baby was sleeping and it's peaceful and quiet. I don't know how they can do it, because I know one of the things I always do, because I watch too many horror movies, the first thing I do when I get in the car is look in that rear view mirror, make sure ain't nobody back there, just in case I got a fight or something. I keep a hammer on my side door too. I started doing that because I used to drive Uber for like 2 days when I still needed to buy my mic for the studio. So I kept a hammer on the side door just in case somebody tried to pop off, because I don't fight fair. But yeah, one of the things I always do is I've always, even when I get out the car, I kind of just check my back seat. It's kind of like this superstition thing, like, in the movies where it's always a horror movie. It's always one of those movies where, I don't know, the lady's running from the psycho killer husband and she's running, she's in the woods or something like that. Or maybe she's not even in the woods. Maybe she just feels like somebody's following her, but she can't see the person. And she goes in the parking garage and she gets in the car and everything. She starts it and she's just driving and everything. And the next thing you know, dude pops up in the back and slits her throat or something. And I'm like, you didn't see nobody in the back seat when you got in? Like, how do you open the door and sit down and not even feel that there's somebody in the back seat? And they're always in a small car. It's not like they're in a 9-passenger soccer mom van. They're always in like a Kia Sorento. And somehow this big old 200-pound man you didn't see in the back seat. Now he can slit your throat. You got blood all over the seats. Anyway, moving right along. Audra McDonald. I forgot the name of the play though. Okay, I don't know what that's about. I really haven't seen that story, so I will look into that. We can bring it up. That's crazy. I have a bunch in here y'all want to talk about today. Let's see. I was still on stage. Best country play they're being nude. Oh, the play she's being nude intentionally. Okay, that's different. Yes, his first name is Tucker. Enough said. I agree. Hold on. The only Tucker I get along with is Chris Tucker. Sister Soldier speaks on the Allies. Sister Soldier where is she? When I tell you, she's one of my favorite political activists. She had a much larger platform back in the day. She has some really great literature too. I told you I read what is it? Soul Brother? So I got it on my bookshelf. The Midnight. It's Midnight. Something like Midnight. Like it's the blue book. Like she got like these 3 pieces of literature. One book is red, one is black, one is blue. My dad bought me the blue one right before I left for school. It's a really great piece of literature. But Sister Soldier was always really dope. Go on YouTube and check out some of her old interviews and everything like that. She was always on it. Always. I always appreciated her. I don't really know what happened to her. She also had this speech that was really good. It was from like 1999. She was at some kind of convention. It's like an hour and a half. You got to really have some time to sit through it. But it was a great speech, just talking about our experience and our experience at home as far as home life and family structure. All right. Where are we at, folks? How do you feel about Antonio Brown finally being released? Good for her, I'll say. There were some people who felt she should still be in there. The biggest issue I had was the girl was 16 and she was a victim of prostitution and everything like that. And I think they really threw the book at her to make an example out of her. And so it's definitely important to recognize that without social media, she'd probably still be in jail, unfortunately. And I think that's one of the good things about social media. It can bring awareness to a lot of things. Like we would have never heard about Trayvon Martin if Twitter didn't exist. We would have never heard about Mike Brown if Twitter didn't exist. Sandra Bland, you would have never heard about. Ayanna, I think it's Ayanna Brown from Detroit. That was the girl that was killed when they were filming the first 48. Like stuff like that, you would have never. And she was in her bed sleeping. They shot her on accident doing a raid at the house. A lot of these instances you would never hear of if it wasn't for social media. So, I hope she's able to re-enter society and be successful, because that's the hardest bit is once you get out, trying to build a life that you want, like especially when you've lost years of your life. And it's the same thing we talked about with Khalif Broder and how he was a teenager, and so by the time he got out, he was 19. He missed those 3 pivotal years of his teenage experience, and in addition to everything else that happened to him, because he was definitely just locked in solitary confinement the majority of the time he was in Rikers, similar to I can't even get the guys, Corey from the Central Park 5, similar experience. And so a lot of people lose their minds getting out, or even if they don't lose their minds, they have a really hard time getting back into society. There's just, everything is so different. And for her, because she got locked up at such a young age, trying to re-enter society and be successful can be a challenge. So best wishes to her on that. Oh, you guys keep talking about Coming to America too. I'll say what I said last time. I would rather have a sequel than a reboot. So I guess, but listen, after Coming to America 2 comes out, I want to pause on all reboots, all live action remakes. And if it's going to be a sequel, we got to vote on whether we have it or not. Because my main beef is too many live action remakes. And I told you that some of these newer ones haven't been good. The reboots I'm tired of. And the biggest argument is there's so many talented screenwriters out there who have been waiting for somebody to pick up their stuff. And there's nothing more insulting than hearing, oh, we don't have the funding to fund your idea, or we don't think people will invest in it. And then you find out they're going to remake some movie nobody asked for. That sucks. Especially as a script writer who has like 6 or 7 film scripts just sitting there waiting. I've been trying to sell them things for the life of me. You're like, man, okay, it's cool that y'all are remaking I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, but do we really need to remake it? They're not remaking that, by the way. But anyway, all right, where are we at here? He said pink psychosis. Y'all crazy. Eurocentricity. That's a different term. I could see that, but then people are gonna say that is they're gonna what the first thing they're gonna do is bring up Afrocentricity or Afrocentrism, and they're gonna bring that up and say, well, why can't we have that and y'all have that? So I don't even know if that's the right phrase. Where are we at, folks? Um, do, 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 do. Oh, Brandy working with who? Justin Timberlake and Daniel Caesar. Well, listen, to be fair, but I don't know what Brandy going through anyway. Brandy's been acting kind of weird lately, so she might not have been in her right mind when she decided to work with those two. But it is what it is. I'm still beefing with Brandy a little bit. I bought tickets to that Kennedy Center show, and she canceled it the day of, like within the hour. I was so mad. I bought some nice tickets. Like I had my little tux and everything because it's the Kennedy Center, so you got to go. You got to be regal and I was ready. I was ready because I knew Brandy was gonna kill that show. And next thing you know, it was like shows canceled, and then she didn't give an explanation for like a few days. I was like, really? It is what it is, though. We'll see. I would like Brandy to make some music, though. It's been 7 years since the last album. Um, Coming to America. Yeah, we're still in that. Eddie Murphy's engaged to what? Blonde Australian white girl who's already given him 2 children. He got 10 kids, huh? Well, listen, he can afford all them kids. He got the money to support it. If you can support 10 children, enjoy. I already work with kids, and some days once we start hitting 50, 60 in there a day, I'm like, all right, too many of y'all. All right, I love y'all. Y'all working my nerves a little bit. But moving on, I do think Brandy doesn't get enough credit. Somebody just posted that. I agree as well. Um, but Brandy, I think, has to the consistency is what's missing with Brandy. She's been working on a bunch of projects because she did Broadway. She's been doing a lot of television. And so you could give her somewhat of a pass as to why she hasn't been giving as much music. But y'all weren't buying the music to begin with. Y'all stopped buying her music when Aphrodisiac came out, which was a really great album. Speaking of Brandy, I know the Brandy fans are obsessed with Full Moon. I feel like Never Say Never is a better album. Like if I rank my favorite 3 Brandy albums, y'all gonna fight me, but it's Never Say Never, Aphrodisiac, and Full Moon. Full Moon has some gems, I know, but like Never Say Never is just that album, man. Maybe because I was younger, it just has a nostalgia to it. Moving on, I want to get to some other stories I had in here. Then some people were talking about. Somebody asked me about Ronald Reagan, which I didn't want to spend any time on, but recently there were some tapes that leaked with him having a conversation with Richard Nixon, and he says a bunch of racist stuff. I don't even remember the actual quote, but it was something he said about the folks in Africa, and I guess they were monkeys or apes, something crazy. And folks were outraged and hurt. And I'm like, what are y'all hurt for? If you followed history, Ronald Reagan, in my opinion, because folks were shocked because they're like, he couldn't be racist because, he's the world's favorite president, apparently. If you just follow his policy, the racism is right there. Even the phrase welfare queen, that comes from him. So when you talk about, when you hear the verbiage aimed at black women who are on welfare or getting support from the state or the government, and you hear welfare queen, where did that come from? That came from Ronald Reagan. When you talk about the war on drugs, like initially Nixon started the war on crime. Reagan took the war on crime, rebooted it, and named it the war on drugs and merged it with the war on crime. And that's when you saw the influx of black people going to jail. Black people were already getting incarcerated at higher rates, but not to the rates that we saw until the 80s. Reagan is the administration behind the whole crack versus cocaine, mandatory minimum, like all of that. So, where's the shock? I don't know how y'all shocked that Reagan was racist. That's nothing new under the sun. And that's just a few of the things. He voted against he was against the Voting Rights Act, and then even he put in Scalia, the Supreme Court Justice Scalia, who eventually voted to help chop down the Voting Rights Act a few years ago. So we don't even know if we're going to be counting jelly beans at the next election. Reagan has a horrible legacy, in my opinion. Man, F Reagan. Nobody's thinking about Reagan like that. So folks were over here shocked about Reagan. And listen, Reagan was good for rich people. He was great for them. As a matter of fact, like I said, his Secretary of Treasury was Donald Reagan, the guy who used to work at Merrill Lynch. He's either Merrill Lynch or one of them big old giant companies. I want to say Merrill Lynch. So Reagan was when you saw big banks and insurance companies take over the country as far as our politics. That's when our politicians really started getting bought out. All that happened under his watch. So yes, he brought the country out of a recession that he initially kickstarted, but the people who came out of that recession were rich people. They were rich already. You want to talk about an attack on the middle class? That's his administration. That's when you saw college tuition skyrocket. everything like that. You saw housing rates start, the inflation just crazy. So Reagan, anyway, um, okay, I like that. Tykel said Never Say Never was like giving you a taste of what you were to get on Full Moon. I'll say this. Full Moon is her best album vocally. I think I just like the material on Never Say Never a little bit more. Even on Never Say Never, if I had a favorite song, or for Full Moon, if I had a favorite song, it was Like This, and All in Me. They came right like back to back on the album. Somebody said thoughts on the ice raids. The biggest thing that I always say, Americans are always so afraid of terrorism, and we always think somebody's out to get us. And I think what people need to be afraid of 10, 15 years from now are all of these kids who are going to remember that their mom got snatched away from them. They got put in a box. Their families were separated. They might have had 3 or 4 siblings, and all the siblings are on different corners of the country, and they may not be reunited for years to come. Things like that. Like, people can have their opinions on immigration, but there's still an element of humanity that should still exist. And when you're locking kids in cages and you got kids dying because they're not getting the medical treatment, the kids did nothing wrong. The kids are only following the line of what their parents have. The kids are only doing what they know. So when the kids are the ones getting the punishment. So that raid that just happened in Mississippi, where I think they arrested 680 folks, and those are families that are all broken up. Everybody's going to have their opinions on immigration, but there's an element of humanity that's supposed to exist. And then when you really think about immigration, it's really a piece of paper. And for a lot of people who go through that immigration process, some people, it takes 20 plus years to get in. But something I saw in some research, a lot of the people who are coming here, I saw this piece where people who come from like Central America, as far as like Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala, and all that, if they've been in the United States for more than 13 years, their health ends up being worse than when they initially came. They were better off at home. And I think that comes from just the idea of being, in whatever. But like I said, because some folks get mad when I talk about anything that's not associated with Black folks. And my thing is, you can still have empathy for somebody else's struggle. But like I said, as far as priorities, my center is on my community, but I definitely empathize with what's happening, and I definitely think something needs to be done. I think a lot of these other communities, they have to step up to the plate as well to fight for themselves. I think Black people, we fight for everybody all the time, and I think that's just in our nature. We take on everybody's burdens because we know what it's like to be oppressed, and we don't want to see anybody else go through that same experience. The issue I see with the whole immigration piece and like the Latino community and how they're doing everything is, I personally don't think there's a such thing as a Latino community or Hispanic community. Literally, the only thing that they have in common as a collective is they have ties to a Latin country, and some of them speak Spanish. But they're all put in the same bubble and forced to kind of be a monolith. It's different from the experience of Black folks, who all of us, we don't come from the same places from the continent, but we all lived under the same system. And so you see it with the voting pattern. So when you look at who voted for Trump, and it's 30+% of Latinos who voted for Trump, I'm like, wait, so y'all watch this man say all the stuff about y'all and you still voted for him? And that goes back to the element of how different the experience is for those in the Latino communities, depending on where they're from. Somebody who is from Cuba, somebody who is from Colombia, is going to totally see the world different from somebody who's from Puerto Rico, from somebody who's from Mexico. As a matter of fact, when you talk about those in the Latino community who identify as white, because we've had that conversation about nationality, ethnicity, and race, a lot of them identify as white. They do. And so they kind of see things through the lens of white people, and they will vote for those policies. So even though these are their brothers and sisters, I guess, they don't mind their brothers and sisters getting snatched up and pushed back out, because that means it's a better shot for them to climb up for some. So in that community, it's kind of hard to see where some of them stand because they're not on the same page. And I think that happens when you have the idea of identity politics. Identity politics, in my opinion, only makes sense for Black folks. And I just say that because, when you're talking about the racist policies that have been put into place, they were all aimed at us. We were target number one. Other groups of people, it still targets them. They still have oppressions. I don't think any of our experiences are interchangeable. The Black experience is not interchangeable with the Latino experience, which is not interchangeable with the experience of those who are from Arab countries, with the experience from those who are Muslim. Like, none of them are the same struggle. You know what I mean? They're extremely different struggles. But the only thing that all of these struggles have in common is that they fall under the bubble of white, supremacy. And that's where we're at. But, I think people need to worry about some of these kids who've had these traumatizing experiences. And listen, some of these are going to grow up to be vengeful adults, and they're going to want their revenge for everything that's happened to them. So in the same room, I think people need to be careful about how, Black folks and the traumas we've lived through. I keep saying America's been lucky Black folks haven't really lost their minds yet. And I don't know if that's because as a community, we've always been nurturing towards each other. And I think that sometimes works to appease the struggles we have collectively. But I keep saying folks are lucky that like Black Americans have not lost their minds yet. And there's that. Where are we at here? Let's see how many tables I shook with that one. Ain't nobody gonna agree. Some of y'all ain't gonna agree with that piece. Good. Okay, somebody said, I'm glad you said this. As a Californian, I have mixed feelings. I want them to be treated humanely, but I also have a problem with legal immigrants who are racist to Black people. That's the other bit where you have that conversation of the Black and brown, just happy coalition of love. And like that's ideal, but the issue is that doesn't exist. That's one of the other bits why sometimes it's hard for some people to jump and support everybody else. Because like I said, Black folks will hop and we will support everybody, but we don't get that same support. It's real. We'll be called the N-word real quick in whatever language that exists real quick. And you see that with any marginalized group of people in this country, no matter where they're from, whether they're from the Middle East, whether they're from Central America, whether they're from Southeast Asia. So that's why I'm not a big fan of people always using the phrase minority or a person of color, because it erases the Black struggle out of that experience and it puts us all in the same bubble. Yes, you can say somebody who's from the Philippines is a person of color. You can say somebody who's Black is a person of color, but our experiences are not interchangeable. And I think what that does is it waters down each experience. So I almost want to say, I don't want to say it's a lazy way of, categorizing different groups of people, because really what it does is it makes the world operate in two ways. The world is white, and then there's everybody else. And all of us who are some element of color are a part of the everybody else group. And it centers on the idea of white and then everybody else. So I do have a problem with that. But yes, that's the other bit. It's like, okay, folks are fighting for some of y'all and y'all don't even like us like that. I'm like, dang, it's like that. Anyway. Moving on. And by the way, I have no ill will towards anybody. By the way, all of these conversations are structural. It's weird. I get a lisp sometimes, depending on how my teeth shift. Like I have a problem area on this side, and sometimes these teeth will shift. It's like one tooth because I got a crown there, and teeth shift around that crown. And then I got my wisdom teeth taken out, and so like, man, it's sometimes I don't know. Anyway, because some folks got mad with my video about El Paso. And I was like, listen, the reason I spent so much time talking about, the immigrant situation and conversation was because that was the group who was targeted. So, of course, that's the basis for our conversation. And again, you can empathize with everybody. You can still walk and chew gum at the same time. I can advocate for my community and I can still bring awareness to what's happening in somebody else's, because that's just how my heart works. All right. Moving right along. They sure don't empathize with us. I know it's trifling, but at the end of the day, you want to go to sleep with peace in your heart rather than stressed out, because it goes back to when we talked about that research they had with Martin Luther King and how he died in his 30s, but the heart he had was that of somebody who was twice his age, because all of the trauma and the stress. And we also talked about the research that is shown when it comes to childbirth amongst Black women. People used to think it was a socioeconomic issue and that women who were not wealthy or not affluent that were Black were having problems with childbirth. But no, it's turning out that women who are even rich who are Black are having problems with childbirth. And the research is showing that it relates to the trauma and the generations of trauma that have happened within our community. And somebody was like, really what it is, it's the ancestors just doing us a favor, making it so our kids don't even have to deal with what to come when they get into the society. I said, oh, that's a tough favor, but it is what it is. Somebody said he should have ate vegan. All right. Let me move on here. I got a few other bits I want to talk about. We got Reagan. Okay, I'm not gonna spend too much time on this. Somebody asked me about the clip of, there was some woman, because we already had a conversation about clout chasing and people trying to do stuff for fame and to get famous or whatever else they do. But the bit of clout chasing, there's this woman on Facebook, and I guess she didn't like how her baby looks. So she has this whole live video where she's talking about how her baby's ugly and so on and so on. Just roasted the poor baby. Baby can't do help the fact. I'm like, at the end of the day, it's your child, it's your genetics. You going up after the baby. But like I said before, some babies and some kids are not loved. They're just tolerated. Some kids are raised by a tablet, the TV, and a Squeeze-It or a Coke or a Pepsi, and that's their childhood. And so they sit in front of a TV and a tablet where the mama or the dad or the grandma or whoever's raising them ignores the child until it's time to feed them and put them to sleep. The child is in their own world until they're 5. Then they put that child in school, and the child doesn't know how to socialize with other kids, and now all of a sudden they got ADD. They don't know how to sit down in class, and then they get home and the parents want to beat on them all day. again, I feel bad for the plight of some children. Some people just don't need to have kids. You know what I mean? If you're really not fit to be a parent, um, why are you having kids? And I understand things happen and people are put in predicaments where they end up having kids. But if you end up having a child, everything you've known is no longer about you. You have to sacrifice that whole selfish state that you're in and recognize that you're bringing in a new life and you're bringing in your legacy. So if you end up being a crappy parent and you don't raise your kids to be what it is that they could become, and you take away the opportunities that could have been, and you never gave the emotional support, you never gave the love, you were always condescending, everything was so punitive, everything was you knocking them upside the head every 5 minutes and popping them. It's kind of like when you see the parents cussing at like a 3-year-old, like a grown adult, cussing at the 3-year-old like they at the bar, like they in the club, like it's the parking lot after a fight or something like that. Doing all of that, you spend all that time telling kids that they ain't ish all the time, and then you wonder why when they become teenagers they resent you. You wonder why when they become adults they don't want nothing to do with you, and now you got to go to the home because you got dementia and everything else, and none of your kids want to take care of you because they have no good memories of you and everything like that. And there's another conversation to have about buying your kids out. There's some parents who are not parents in my life, and I'm speaking from just the fact that I work with kids and I see things. There's some folks who I don't think are great parents. They think that they can just buy their kids away. They can buy their kids everything. They can buy the kids. Your kids can get the Jordans. Your kids can get the tablet. Your kids can get all the toys they want. They're going to get McDonald's every day. I'm never going to give you a home cooked meal. I'm going to buy everything, but you never get the emotional support. I'm not coming to your band recital. I'm not like they don't go to the band recital. They don't go to anything. All they do is buy kids stuff. And the kids, they have no great conversations, no memories of their parents. One of the weirdest things I used to do, I don't think it's weird, but I used to always lay in the bed with my parents, even as an adult. Like when I would come home from college, because I hadn't seen my parents for however many months or a year, I would go and I would lay right in the bed with them. We'd be watching TV, and that was just our way of communicating. Then my brother would come in, and it'd be all four of us because they had this big, giant California king bed. We'd all be in the bed watching TV. I always remember, I don't know if you've seen the movie Eve's Bayou. It's after Samuel L. Jackson's character gets killed. And then you see that scene where it's not Loretta Devine, Lynn Whitfield and Journey Smollett and the other kids and Megan Good, and they're all in the bed with mom, and she's, that element of comfort. Kids need all of that. You got to give your kids affection. Even as men, we can be very alpha males on occasion. I don't think I give a whole bunch of alpha male energy, but sometimes we're such brutes. We're so strong. We're just so right here. Just what you suck it up, be a man all day. And you do it to your young boys that are 3 and 4 and 5, and you don't even give them the opportunity to process how they feel, how to process their emotion, how to understand feelings. Same with some of the girls and stuff too. And then you wonder why your kids are punching walls. You wonder why they don't know how to react when they don't get their way. You wonder why they got anger management problems. Like all of that comes full circle. So going back to that mom calling the baby ugly on Facebook, I pray the baby doesn't see that when they grow up. Kind of like the Morris show, when they be bringing the people on there, and then that baby ain't mine. That baby else. Look at the nose. Look at her. That baby ain't mine. And then it ends up being their child. It's like, oh, just like me. I'm like, you know what? Y'all playing games, man. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna go back and read some of these comments here because I've been talking for a lot. Let's start. I can't wait to see HC5. What's HC5? HC5. I don't know what that is. Oh, Hidden Colors 5. Okay, Hidden Colors 5. I haven't seen it yet. I like Hidden Colors for the historical aspect. There's some bits I do kind of look at differently when it comes to sometimes the psychological conversations they have. I think sometimes some of the viewpoints they may put out there, I'm not going to say are backwards, but I don't think there's a one size fits all solution or a way to look at things when it comes to people, their psyche, when it comes to how they cognitively see things. I think that's the only time where I'm like, y'all got to be careful with some of the verbiage you put out. Because if you're trying to be pro-Black and you're trying to encourage and empower the community, you got to make sure that people don't feel that they're isolated from the community. All right, anyway. Scroll. Yes, Black people need some therapy. I agree. They need, and it should be free. All of us need some therapy. I've been trying to get my family to go for years. They be thinking I'm crazy. Yes, somebody said he went back to the Squeeze It. The Squeeze It's were, boy, if that wasn't the best drink when you were a kid, and they used to pop the top, and you try to even get that little drop and squeeze it at the top of the lid in that little circle thing. It was like one drop of juice. You try to get that out too. Let's see where we at. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. Let's see. Oh, I'm glad somebody said that. Jade said, though the sacrificial lamb mindset when it comes to parenting is also quite detrimental. I'm glad you brought that up. And so when we say being able to sacrifice, it's not saying, because I don't think as a parent, if you have children, that means that's the end of your life. If you can find that way to balance the things you still want to do for yourself and raise your family, you should, because there's a lot of parents who grow up resenting their kids because maybe they had their kids young, or it might not have even been that they had their kids young. They had their kids and they didn't realize how much work it was going to be, or maybe the spouse dies, or maybe there's a divorce, or maybe something happens, and they spend so much time raising the children, they don't have enough time to work on themselves, work on goals that they have, and so you have a lot of adults who take it out on their children. And so I always say, like, when you have children, it is all about them, especially in those early years when they're 1, 2, 3. But you still got to give time for yourself, because you're still growing as well. Just because you have a child doesn't mean you stop growing. We grow internally and then as far as the soul until we kick the bucket. And so I think some people, they have children and their life just becomes their children and it's not them anymore. And I think that leads to hypertension. I think that leads to why so many of us have shorter lifespans, especially when you're talking about Black men. I think, the average lifespan of Black men is so much shorter than everybody else. And with Black women as well, it's not as long as it should be. And I think that comes from us giving so much to everything else, but not to ourselves. And it's not saying you have to be 100%, selfish, where it's all about me, 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 and F the kids. You have to find that balance to make things. That's why I don't have kids now, because I'm not there yet. Like I have so much I still want to do in life, and it's like, man, I when I have kids, I have to slow down a little bit. But that's why I'm like, I don't want to drag any child through all of my crazy endeavors that I'm always jumping into. So children are still on pause for a few more years for me. Plus, that's what my dad did. My dad didn't have me till he was 33, and he said that was one of the best decisions he made, because he was able to live. He was able to do all the things he wanted to do in his 20s and everything like that. And so by the time I showed up, he was in a space where he was ready to raise a family and slow down and still do the things he wants to do, but do it in a different form, or do it in a form that fits the structure of how he wanted his household to be. And in the same token, my mother was just as supportive, and she was a little bit older when she had me as well. All right. Plus, I was a miracle baby. My mother, not to tell all her business, but like it was really hard for her to have kids. And so she said she initially first started trying to have children back in like 1981. And it just didn't go well. It kept just not going well. And she said she lost count after 8 as far as losing babies. And so finally, I mean, she had given up on children, and then I magically showed up. So yeah, there's that. Let's see. Oh, somebody said Black China and Tokyo. What's her name? Tokyo. That's a good example. How the relationship they have is very toxic from what I see. But I think in those situations, you need to not have all that on TV and on social media. That's why I think reality shows really will mess up a family dynamic real quick. Yeah, you're getting a check. Yeah, you're getting fame, but you're getting it at the expense of your support system. If you have that, if your family is that. Some people's families are not support systems. Some people, you got to cut your family off because they're crazy. They take everything from you internally. I feel like we ain't got the no news thing. We over here having a whole life session. All right, where are we at? Thank you for recognizing that Latinos. Okay, You're a miracle child, and that's when parents take their frustration. Yep. I want to be okay. You said I want to get married and have a family, but it's hard to find prospects this day and age, and I'm over the age of 25. Listen, dating after 25, my God, the stress that comes with that. I'm just in a space where I'm just living and I'm just going with the flow. Because man, yeah, it can be difficult because I think after 25, you know what you want. You start knowing what you want and trying to find somebody that has that same space, and they're also, and then at the same time, when you know what you want, you're still building yourself up as far as your career, as far as things you may want to do, and you got to find that person that fits the mold. And that's a tough thing. When you're 18, 19, you're still having fun. You go to the club, have a good time, have a bunch of situationships, and be on your merry way. But once you start hitting 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, it's a different ball game. Or if you're much older, if you're 40, 50, 60, maybe you got divorced and you want to remarry, yeah, you've already learned what not to do from the first marriage, and you've learned what you don't want, and now you got to find that as well. Like, relationships are tough. I'm starting to think humans are not supposed to be together. We just force ourselves to live together. But, it is what it is. All right, where are we at, folks? Y'all in here fighting? What y'all fighting about? We ain't fighting today, man. It's a good day. I think people having kids for the wrong reason, getting mad because the grandparents aren't helping. It's not their job. I agree. Let your grandparents enjoy themselves, man. They didn't raise you already. unless it is what it is. Everybody's experience is different though. So um, she said, I'm 28 and a female, and people are shocked because I don't have kids. But that's starting to become more common, especially amongst millennials. Like society, first of all, even in the career world, we already don't make enough to have kids. We are like kids are already expensive. And the way that jobs are these days, they want you to have a master's degree to wash some dishes. And then somehow you're supposed to be able to raise a family off of that. Like I was looking, one of my friends is looking to buy a house out here in DC. I'm not there yet. I ain't trying to spend that because DC homes be like $3,000 and $4,000 and $600,000. I'm not locking myself into that kind of debt yet. But yeah, I was looking at the prices. I was like, it costs this much for this little house? Because houses in DC are not that big because DC is a small space already. A lot of the houses are pretty small. Like you'll see houses that are only 1,300 square feet, and they're talking about retail $490,000. I think not. All right, and that's on the low end. All right, I got to get back to some of these topics because we're way off task here. Um, oh dang! And then somebody asked me about this. I don't know if you've seen this post. I've seen it on Baller Alert and social media where there's a school in, I want to say around the Atlanta region. I want to say DeKalb County, where they have this poster of appropriate hairstyles for the children. And of course, the hairstyles that are inappropriate are all the ones that are a little, these kind of all kind of zigzags and parts and braids and twists and pretty much any black hairstyle minus a low cut for the boys and either a straight cut or the puff for the girls. Like, of course, we know what it's rooted in. The idea I think or the issue I have is, again, you're erasing blackness in favor of promoting children and adults to assimilate into a society without an identity. And what I mean by that is you're assimilating into society and you've erased all of yourself. And now you're like a walking mannequin where you've erased your blackness. Like that was one of the beefs I had at Howard. I don't know if this is still a rule. And I think Hampton had this issue too. And again, that may also be one of the beefs I had with HBCUs. And I don't think it's the same way, but they were always tough on us about our hair. Cut your hair, gentlemen. You need to cut your hair because it's not professional. And the bit that used to get me was, even in the organization I work with, there's a whole bunch of white folks who got all kind of hair, all kind of stuff. And so it used to work my nerves that they would say, braids were unprofessional, locks were unprofessional, unprofessional to who and according to who and through what lens. You know what I mean? And so I think initially with a lot of schools and institutions, like, they try to groom people to assimilate into society through the mainstream way of thinking. And the mainstream way of thinking is the thinking that the majority population has. And that's not fair to kids and it's not fair to everybody else. I don't think Howard and Hampton still had that rule anymore. But I knew, like, with the business school at Howard, there was a certain way you had to present yourself as far as hair. And Hampton had that same issue. I don't know if it's still there today. Now, when I was there, it was 2006. So maybe, or 2010, 06 to 2010. So it may be different now, but that was one of my beefs. Because it's almost that's kind of like that Booker T perspective where his way of looking at everything was, we're only going to be successful if we train ourselves to be white folks. That's pretty much how I looked at him. I used to look at him one way until I really started dissecting all of his content. I'm like, that's not what he meant. Even the idea of the talented 10. At first when it was introduced to me, I was like, oh, okay. It's saying, some of us are just so special that we'll be the ones to save the community. And then really you look back at it, it's like, no, really what he's saying is, all y'all gonna be stupid except for a few of y'all. And you might as well, you better hit the bricks and run and make it because the rest are gonna pull you down. Not on my watch. All right. Yeah, Booker T. And so every time I see a school named after Booker T. Washington, I'm like, yeah, and that goes back. Yeah, who just brought up somebody? Tanya Jones brought that up with the kid that had to cut his locks at the wrestling match, which I still get mad watching that clip. Remember, we did a video on it. Like they were saying his locks were inappropriate and were against the rules. He needed to cut them. Now, mind you, he had been wrestling the whole season, but that one specific ref had an issue with it. And then the beef that gets me. The coach starts cutting the hair. And all the teammates are, you're so strong, man. You're so strong, bro. Mind you, these are all white kids. And the kid, he was something. I thought he looked black to me. Folks were like, he ain't black. I'm like, whatever. So, the whole team is like, you're so strong, bro. Yeah, man. You're doing this for the team. And I'm like, that's some BS. So, for y'all to be a team, for y'all to support him, y'all should have all told the ref, F you, we won't wrestle at all. And you should have brought it up to a bigger issue. But, you were willing to let him sacrifice his identity so y'all could come up. Because my thing is, what if he chopped off all that hair and lost? You did all that, and now you got to go there with a botched haircut and everything on top of that. What if prom was the next day? He got to go to prom with a jacked up haircut and everything. Because when you cut locks and everything, it takes a good week or two and some change for your hair to lay back down properly. And so there's that. That was jacked up. But yeah, that school, and I feel like it's a black school doing that. Like I feel like that school's majority black. I don't know what the administration is like. And I'm talking about the school initially with the haircuts that they had on the wall as far as what was appropriate. I feel like it's a school with majority black students. I don't know what the administration is for that school, but they need to go back to the drawing board on that. I'm tired of, we always got to be attacked for our existence. That's probably why I haven't cut my hair yet, just to piss people off. I love going to a board meeting with this hair, especially like if it's like super big that day or something. Can't wait to walk up in there. Good morning. How y'all doing? All right. DeKalb County. That's what I thought. Mostly black. Yeah. They're going off of white standards. We have our own style. As long as it's clean and well cut, just let us live and be us. They do that at my job. Oh, that's like, I hate corporations that want you to shave. I don't like not having any facial hair. I don't mind shaving this off because I don't think this is ever going to grow in. I just get this little patch right here. None of this is ever going to come in. And it's not even on this side. But I always try to keep my little goatee. I don't like not having facial hair because I have a long jaw and a long chin. I'm going to look like a freaking egghead with no facial hair. But there's some corporations that are like, man, you can't have any facial hair. F that. Ain't working there either. But yo, sometimes I ain't gonna lie. I wish this could come in. If this could come in, woo! Couldn't tell me nothing. All right. Somebody asked me about the new NCAA rule, and pretty much this rule is saying that if you're going to be an agent for a for a college athlete, then you have to have a degree, and you have to have some kind of certification and everything like that. And really, it seems like that's in response to what's his name? I wrote it down somewhere. I think. Did I write it down? Dang, I didn't write it down. It was trending on Twitter. I can't think of the guy's name, but there's this black individual. I know one of you guys know who it is. There was this black individual who was Rich Paul. Thank you. Who said that? So beautiful me. Appreciate it, Kelly. Rick Paul. So, he's one of the most successful black agents at the moment, and he has no formal degree or anything in that field. And so what I see is, like I've said, a lot of these sports corporations and everything, they recognize that if the talent recognize how important they are and how crucial they are to the structure of those organizations, the talent, in my opinion, they have the power to seam rip everything and really call the shots. So pulling a move like that is a way to keep people in control. The same way they are with the NFL players taking the knee. The same way it was where they told all the NBA players back in the day, you got to start wearing suits on the sidelines because too many of y'all are coming in here with gold chains and fronts in your mouth and everything. All of that, it's the same thing. It's a way to police blackness. It's a way to, because again, you already know blackness, black folks, we inspire the culture all around the world. Folks don't want their kids acting like us, so let's police that. Okay, take them gold chains off, take all that. That's what they do. And so, of course, they think they own all of these players. I think it's BS that, NCAA players, they don't get any additional support other than the scholarships they get for their sports. And here's like an example. Like, say I was still 19 and I was super, super good at basketball. Let's just say I was like 6'7" and everything. And I don't know, where do I go to school? I go to Duke. All right. So I go to Duke. I didn't come in as a freshman on the basketball team, so I don't get that scholarship, but I came as a walk-on, and I walked on and made the team. I don't get the same scholarship that those who were recruited get. Even though I'm on the team, I don't get that academic scholarship or that athletic scholarship, and I have to figure out how I'm going to pay for everything. And if I get any support from somebody other than family, it counts as a bribe, and I can be kicked out, and I can lose everything and be kicked out of the school. So, I think all of that is crap. And again, they own these students. They own these athletes as far as the NFL, the NBA, like all of them are owned. I told y'all, the most funny bit that always gets me is Jerry Jones and them Cowboys. And when he said that bit about my players are not even going to go to the locker room for the national anthem, they will be out there toes to the line. I said, oh, okay. Jerry got y'all in line. Y'all better get in line, toes to the line. All right. Where we at? Okay, you said no, the school was majority white. The Tilda boy. Okay, Tanjin Zoo. We're talking two different schools. So the school that we know, the wrestling school is majority white. The school that I was saying was majority black was the school where they had the posters of the hair that was appropriate for the students. I kind of just mixed two stories together to make my point. Um, I have not seen Dear White People, the show. I've seen the movie. I never have seen the Netflix show. Um, so y'all would have to tell me how it is. I've never seen it. I saw the initial movie. Um, where are we at? Um, we already talked about reboots. Oh, somebody talked about Destiny's Child. Apparently, Destiny's Child is or it's rumored that they're plotting a reunion, and maybe a tour. Which I like that idea. I've been saying for years they should have had some kind of reunion. I think Destiny's Child. I think it would be dope. I think it would be a great time to get them all together. I think they have unique personalities, and I think especially for somebody like Beyonce, who you have to find ways to constantly keep shaking the table so people don't get tired of you. A great way to kind of keep the energy going is do a Destiny's Child reunion and then come out with your next album. Well, I think she's probably coming out with an album next, but Beyonce gave y'all a lot of stuff in 2018, 2019 because you got the Coachella performance and the album and the DVD to go with it. You got the what is it? Everything Is Love album with Jay-Z, and you got the bit with the Lion King and her additional contribution musically. Like, so yeah, maybe a Destiny Child reunion would be a great thing. And I think they could do a big tour. I initially thought that's what they were going to do for Essence Festival this year, because this year was the 25th anniversary. And you remember last year they had Janet Jackson. And so I was like, okay, if you had Janet Jackson for year 24, for year 25, you're going to have to get an act that is just as big or in that same caliber because it's the 25th anniversary. So, you're going to have to get some of the additional big names to really kind of compete with a show like the lineup from last year, because last year was like Janet, Mary J. Blige. They had that whole 90s bit and everything like that. Fantasia. Who else was there? Did I say Missy? Erica Badu, Jill Scott, The Roots, Anthony Hamilton, Kirk Franklin. Like, all of them were there. So, I supported Destiny's Child reunion. That would be a fun tour to watch. Plus, Michelle was always my favorite member. Don't judge. I just think she had the best personality in the group. She's the funniest to me. Um, let's see. Oh, somebody was asking the lineup. The lineup, I think what they should do, if they come out with an album, I would utilize the 5 core. Yeah, because we're not counting Farrah. She was only in for like 5 months, so nobody would really need her. But I feel like they should have some songs where it's the DC3 lineup, as far as just Michelle, Beyonce, Kelly. I think they should do some songs where it's the original 4. And I think they should do some songs where they kind of mix it with who's that? With all 5. My math is off. So, go from there. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're gonna need Beyonce in it. You can't. This would be like, I don't know how the Jacksons are touring right now without Michael. I don't know how that works. Yeah, it would be like that. Y'all hating on Beyonce today, huh? Y'all can't stand her. Oh well. All right. Anyway, but I think a Destiny's Child reunion would be fun. That'd be fun to watch. Um, all right. While we're on it, I did want to talk a little bit more about music. People were asking me my thoughts on, there's that new song. I want to say it's Tiana Taylor and Diddy's son. It samples Mace. What's that song? Tell me, tell me what you want from me. It's that song. I think it's okay. I like the video more though than the actual song. Again, it just goes back to my argument, and we talked about it in my R&B is Dead series. I don't remember which episode, but we talked about the element of sampling and how a lot of the samples are so lazy now. It drives me crazy. This is the beef I have with sampling. By the way, I do think Tiana Taylor does a great job of bringing the essence of the past back. Like, I really love the song Who's Gonna Love Me. Like, I like pretty much all of her singles. She does a great job of, even when she's not sampling something, the essence or that vibe you get from her music still gives you like a nostalgic feeling. And I think that's because, one, she's a little bit older, but two, she's well studied about, from the greats from before her, and she incorporates that to her music. But going back to my thoughts on music, like, what I'm seeing so much of is not only are the samples lazy, even the song is not that great. A song I can't stand right now? It's DJ Khaled and that Scissor song. Every time I hear that, the way I rush to skip the radio or turn back on my actual music off my iPod or something, because one, the song, it samples Outkast, Sorry Miss Jackson. And they literally just took the instrumental and sang over it. And I'm like, and then the melody of the song that, they created over that instrumental, it's not even that great. I'm like, this is the laziest song I've ever heard. And I don't like using the word lazy too often, but like the production value, just like, it sucks. I can't stand that song. I get pissed thinking about it. Like, because the thing is, sampling can be a good thing. You know who I think did a great job of sampling? Tribe Called Quest. They're very underrated. Maybe it's because they were hip hop and maybe not necessarily R&B. But when you want to talk about some great samples, and I think when you look back to how people used to have to actually sample, today if you have Pro Tools, you just import the track and record over it. Boom, there's your sample. Back in the day, before you had these great laptops and Pro Tools and Cubase and Fruity Loops and GarageBand and whatever, or Studio, what is it? Studio something, Studio B, I forgot the program. But, all of those programs, you used to have to manually do that thing. There was this great, I want to say it was on Netflix, this documentary. And I think they were talking about how, they used to create their samples, what Tribe Called Quest would do. And this wasn't just them, but a lot of people. But to sample back then, one, you need your vinyl because they were sampling from a lot of the records from the 70s and the 80s. So they would get the turntable, they'd have the vinyl. Then you have the tape deck. And so say, I don't know, there was some kind of drum loop you wanted. Maybe there was like a and so they wanted that part. So they would put it on the vinyl, they'd have the tape deck, they'd have the vinyl playing, and they take the pieces that they want. All right. And so now that's on the tape. So when you hit play on the tape, it's and then maybe there'd be another song in their head that went like a or something like that. And so they wanted that piece. So now what they would have to do is they'd put the new vinyl on the turntable. They would get a second tape in the tape deck. So there's two tapes. There's tape one that had the there's a tape that has nothing on it, and now there's a turntable. And this turntable is playing a and so now you set the tape deck that has nothing on it, the tape with no sound on it. You set the record to that, and so now it's going to start recording the first tape. So now this is recording, and then turntable, you add that in, and so you have the and the all at the same time, and now it's going onto this second tape. And so now you have this new beat, but then they still want more. So in order to keep adding to it, now what they're going to do is they're going to take this tape, move it over to original tape deck one. The first tape is taken out because now everything you need is on this tape. And now they're going to put in a new record, and maybe, I don't know, it has a or something on it. And they're going to get another blank tape and put it in that second tape deck. And they keep doing that cycle over again. So now you're playing this original tape one with the and so that's going, and then the vinyl has whatever sound it has, and it's all recording on the new blank tape and tape deck too. And they would have to do that over and over, and sometimes they'd have 8 or 9 or 10 or 11, 12 different songs on that tape. And remember, songs have a bridge, songs have a hook, songs have a verse, and they would literally do that for the entire song. So it could take days to take 30 different songs and piece them together. I think that's why Tribe Called Quest has such a great catalog. When you listen to their songs like Description of a Fool or Award Tour, or I really like the song, it was a collab they had with De La Soul. Is it the anthem? It's Saturday. It's Saturday. Like, that is a dope song when you hear what they did with the sampling. It is the dopest. Oh, it just knocks. It knocks, man. So again, like, I'm so passionate about when people, if you're gonna sample, do it right. If you're gonna sample, like, if you're gonna take a sample, that means the melody and the vocal, if you're singing, it needs to be something so spectacular that it doesn't just automatically make you think of the song that you're sampling. All right. If it's a rap song, again, if you're gonna sample, I would enhance what's already there. Like, Diddy was really great at doing that with the Bad Boy tracks, as far as taking those samples and really adding life to them. Like, More Money, More Problems is a great example where it's kind of a mix of a sample and reproduction. And you take, the Diana Ross I'm Coming Out, and you take that and you put Kelly Price and she's re-singing the hook, and you just add new instruments and newer sounds that fit for 97, 98, and boom, you have this big giant song, and it's big. It's big. And I think I don't know if they did that on purpose, but if you think of like Diana Ross I'm Coming Out, it's already it's kind of a boom in your face kind of song. The minute you hear that drum doom doom doom, and you hear the instruments that are on there, and then you hear her start singing, it's already pretty big. And the same thing can be said with More Money, More Problems. It just hits you like boom. And I think that's why they still played in the clubs 20 years later. Anyway, let's see where we're at, folks. Let's see. R&B is dead. We know. Commercially, yes, unfortunately. Oh, y'all still fighting about Beyonce. Oh, Lord. That's going to always be a fight forever. Yeah, Diddy did nothing but sample. If we want to, Diddy was obsessed with Prince too. That whole Press Play album was nothing but Prince. I mean, no diss. That's pretty much that's my lane too. We rock with some Prince. Um, where are we at here? Jay Dilla. Haha. Yes, Jay Dilla. Jay Dilla's great. Jay Dilla slept on, by the way. You know, Jay Dilla doesn't get the credit, that should be given. Um, let's see. Can we just get music back to the Sam Cooke level, please? Sam Cooke has a great catalog. I don't know if you could get to that in 2019. I think the only person that would come close to that is somebody like Leon Bridges. But because that sound is so vintage, I don't know. If you're talking the aspect of just really implementing soul into the music, really putting your heart into the content, that's still there. There's so many artists that have that. Unfortunately, the commercial industry doesn't give people those lanes. And so, like I said, there's always been great music. You just have to dig through the internet to find it. And I think that's what sucks because when you were coming up, if you came up in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, really the 80s and the 90s, and even the early 2000s, it was spoon fed to you. They just dropped it off in your lap. You turn on the TV and here's some new stuff to check out. Today, you got to literally go out and search for new music. I like that Tidal, the streaming service, does have kind of like a way for you to discover new music. Same with Spotify and everything like that. But sometimes you don't want to have to purposely go out of your way to find music. Like some of the best songs you hear, you heard on accident. You were in the car or something, and it was on the radio. You had the TV on one of the little music channels, and you just, oh, this is dope. What song is this? You were at a party and you heard it. You were at the club and the DJ spun it. You were somewhere and you just heard something magical. That's when you really connect with music, as opposed to when you're over here trying to find new music 2019. Then you got to sit through all of these songs that sound the same. Crazy, right? All right, where are we at, folks? Um, Mariah Carey's good at using samples. Yeah, a lot of artists were good at using samples. Mariah was good at using them. Pretty much every Janet Jackson single is sampled to some extent, most of them. But hers were so good, you didn't even realize they were samples. I told you guys before, like that Someone to Call My Lover song, she took the track, or her and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, that song, Gymno PD #1, that came out in 1888, that dun, 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 they took that and mixed it with Ventura Highway and mixed, a soft rock song from the 60s or the 70s, and boom, you know, you can be really creative with the samples, but I don't think people have the same appreciation for music anymore because now the industry, it's always been about money, but now the artists who are coming out there, you can still be about your money, but a lot of them have no appreciation for music. They're just literally doing it for the clout, the fame, and the check. And that's cool for the moment, but when it comes to longevity, I don't know. I think that's why you see a lot of the legends of the earlier decades still being celebrated so much in favor or in comparison to those who are out today. All right. Pete Rock. Thank you for correcting me on that. Pete Rock is another one. I really enjoyed the album he came out with in 07. That was a good album. I forgot the title of it, but it came out in my freshman year of college. I said Ashanti. Ashanti has some okay samples. Even though I'm not gonna lie, I never liked the song "Foolish" because again, I just didn't like that song. I thought "Rain on Me" was much better. I thought that should have been her boom single. And it's crazy because "Foolish" was #1 for weeks. Like I want to say it was #1 for 11 weeks or something like that. But I never liked "Foolish." Or was it Unfoolish? I don't remember the name of the time, but I was never crazy over that song. I always liked Rain on Me. Um, all right, let us not bash the black women, please. Where are we at? Let's see. Chrisette Michelle, A Couple of Forevers. Yeah, that's an okay one. Actually, it's pretty good. Mm-hmm. Where are we at, folks? What else we want to talk about on here? I think I covered most of the topics I wrote down that you guys had requested on here. Oh, and then there's been a bunch of conversations around. I don't know if you've seen it on it's been on Twitter and some of the other sites, but there's a million 50 greatest list out here. So they have the 50 greatest rappers, 50 greatest vocalists, 50 greatest R&B singers. And so somebody asked me what I think. Listen, I don't have a list. My list would change every day anyway. When it comes to those lists, again, music is so subjective. There's going to be two ways. Well, if I ever had to make my own list, I'd look at it from a few aspects. One aspect would be impact. One would be actual talent. One would be what I thought of the actual music. One would be of how it changed the landscape of music. One would be how well it aged over time. So, I don't have a list of the greatest anything. My opinions change all the time. But so yeah, there's that. But y'all can share yours if you want to do that. What else we want to talk about, folks? Because I'm gonna wrap up in a little bit. Because I don't want to. I still gotta go to work tomorrow. I'm exhausted today, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. All right, I'm gonna try to respond to some of these comments you guys have. Normani, I feel like with Normani, I feel like they're kind of keeping her in the cooker at the moment. Um, I want to say she may be one of the artists that actually has some artist development, and they're trying to figure out how to put her out there the right way at the right time because it seems like her team is very lackadaisical with how they're pushing her out there. You would think for her to come from that girl group she was from, they would have came like, boom, here she is. So I think they're still doing artist development with her, and that's why you're not really hearing a whole lot. And like I said before, I don't think she's found her sound yet. She hasn't. But as far as who I've been listening to lately, of course, I know I like Anderson .Paak. I always gas him up all the time. Who did I just buy? I bought a few albums this week. Um, I bought this artist name is Jane Hancock. I like the YB and Corday guy. He's a rapper. I like his project. Chance the Rapper's project was all right. Was all right. I got Tyler the Creators. I said that. Lucky Day. Ari Lennox. I like Ari Lennox just because one, she went to Howard, so I'll support it just for that. There's a few other folks, but you know, music seems a little quiet right now. Like I don't know. Do you guys think there was a summer banger that was out? Like there's always usually those big summer blockbuster songs. I don't know if we had one. People may say Lil Nas X, but I think that was more of a movement that was kind of backed by social media. I don't think a lot of us were playing Old Town Road when we were cleaning the house on Saturdays, but it was still a song that had the impact. I don't know. Where are we at? Um, Drake song with Chris Brown. I like the video. I think the video's funny. Um, what else? Y'all are cooking a whole bunch of people in here. Dang, who do y'all like? Y'all don't like nobody, huh? uh, Jay Dilla. Yeah, that's a great legacy there. Oh, I saw that, Tanya. Did y'all see that post on social media? It's like, so there's a bunch of plantations all over the South, and like South Carolina and Georgia and all these places, and they're literally like museums, and tourists can come and go there. And so there were a lot of people who were pissed because, in addition to seeing the plantation, the tour guide would give them the backstory of the plantation. And so a lot of white people who went to the plantations felt that they were attacked because they had to hear about the history of the plantation. Like one of the reviews, dang man, do I still have that post? I died. One of the reviews, because it was like people started posting the reviews that people were leaving. One of the reviews was like, the tour guide said nothing good about the person who owned the plantation. We didn't know any great facts about them. And it was like, they own slaves. What? Okay. Here's the thing. People, black oppression and black trauma and all of that, people just think it's just like this little cliche, cool thing you can check out on a Tuesday and then you go back to the rest of your life. Like, this is people's lives. And boy, don't get me started, man. Anyway, Timbaland. Timbaland was interesting with his samples because a lot of the samples that he took were from like songs that came out of the Middle East. Like Aaliyah's More Than a Woman. I cannot think of the name of this song, but it's like this song from this artist that I want to say is from Pakistan or India. And so the lead, like the lead chord progression in that song comes from that. You check out some of the stuff he has. A lot of his stuff kind of samples stuff from the Middle East. Are you still moving away from DC? I'm moving wherever life takes me, man. I don't feel anchored here at the moment just because I want to do some additional things, and I think that requires me to move. And so I've been doing a lot of traveling lately, just kind of going around and testing the waters. The thing is, I love DC with all my heart. DC's been good to me, so good. And so it's hard to leave because I just know I won't get this experience anywhere else. And so, but yeah, it's still in the plans to kind of uproot soon. I don't know where I'm uprooting to, but I just want to do something a little different. And then for a lot of the career aspirations I have, I know I have to go to either a larger city, which kind of sucks. But we'll see. And then I don't know. We'll see. I don't know where I'm going. I'm just living life at the moment. Where are we at here? So Shawnee said, "How do you not like Foolish?" I like it more now, but when it first came out, I was like, yeah. I don't know. I think just because they did absolutely nothing different with the music, that's what turned me off. Maybe if the music just was a little different. The song I think is fine. The vocal, the lyrics, and all that I think is fine. And maybe because I was not in her shoes to experience what she's talking about, maybe because I can't all the way relate, maybe that's why I also closed that door to the song. I just wasn't crazy over it. Um, yeah. These YouTube vloggers turned singers my teen sister is obsessed with sample beats, melodies, lyrics, just rip off the whole dang song. Uh, I don't really know a lot of the YouTube artists. I mean, I know of the Queen Naja girl. She's the only one I kind of know of. Um, as a YouTube artist, I just want you all to know that I played every instrument, every sound on my album, every vocal arrangement was all me. All right. So if you want to hear something different, check out my project, the hardcover, or symphonic euphoria, because I got two projects. But check out the hardcover. That's the one I'm pushing at the moment. All right, what else are y'all talking about? See, Tanya agrees. See, Rain on Me. I thought it was a better song. It had a better message too. Um, let's see. A. Marie, yeah, she had some great samples. My beef with A. Marie. I was rooting for her when she came back out, and then I heard the two projects she came out with. Was it this year or last year? And they were just so right here. I said, "Where's the crankage? Where are the pots and pans that are hitting against each other? Where's the screeching?" And when I say screeching, like yeah, A. Marie did that screeching thing when she sings, but it was good screeching. It was real good because it complemented the pots and the pans sound that used to hit on each other, like the real go-go inspired vibe. I was like, "Where's all that at?" Gave me nothing. Oh, too mellow, too mellow. Jasmine Sullivan, I don't know where she's at, but I need her to come back. She had a great show, and I saw her too. I actually saw the same show twice in the same week because it was that good. Um, Even though I'm not gonna lie, when I saw the second show, we didn't remember it because we had a little too much to drink at the time. This was like 2014, I think. We had a little too much. We didn't even remember the second show. It was like, how do we get here? Anyway, um, I'm still reading the comments here. Yeah, I like Lucky Day. She's fun. Um, Thank you. Who's that? That's Quantumatic. That's right. The hardcover really goes. Checked out weeks ago. I hope y'all heard that. Follow suit. um. Oh, Jeremiah, look, I'm not even being shady with the other singers. I just don't know them. Like, I don't. Here's the thing. I don't follow a lot of other YouTubers, and it's nothing because, like, it's not like I have anything against the other YouTubers. Everybody do be great, but I just my plate is full, man. It's like you're trying to do your own channel, you're trying to do podcasting. I'm still doing music. Like I already have the itch to go back in the studio and do another project, and I'm like, man, you just came out with one 2 months ago. You need to promote the one you have first and slow down a bit. Because initially, it was never in the plans to ever come out with an album. And when I did the first album, I was like, it was kind of like an experiment, and I was like, okay, I think I filled that void because I just had the itch to do music. And then, literally 2 months after Symphonic Euphoria came out, I was like, okay, I want to do another one now. And I told myself, nope, you can't go in the studio. I even took my studio apart. I was like, you can't go in the studio at least until January 2018. Because so at least that creativity and that hunger can come back. And then that's how the hardcover came about. I have a video coming out that explains how I made each and every song, each and every track, how I did the vocals, where the inspiration came from. There's a lot of gems within that album as far as where the inspiration comes from. And I think sometimes you may not catch it until you actually listen to it with some serious detail. So that's where we're at. I'm actually, if I do another project, I think I'll do a few EPs. I want to kind of dive into some additional sounds. Like I want to do an EP with like only 3 songs on it, and it would be like a neo soul one. I want it to be like an EP series where I play with different sounds. So like the first piece would be like an EP that's like neo soul. The next one will be something like super experimental. I want to do something that's like dark house music. I really like house music, like house, especially like the stuff from way back when, like 91, 89, all of that stuff. I would Black Box, CNC Music Factory, CC Peniston, Crystal Waters, 10 City. I enjoy all of that. So I kind of want to do like a house project. I want to do, how do I say, like a contemporary R&B EP, but where all the songs are kind of along the lines of like a Joe I Want to Know type vibe. One that's a little bit more pop. Like I kind of want to play around, and then maybe after I do all of those, which should probably take another year and a half, then I'll come out with a third album if I do one. But like I said, my initial goal was to make music for other people. Now I'm over here coming out with all these projects myself. All right. Afro beats are lit. I like Afro. The thing is, because a lot of the kids I work with are from West Africa already, I've been hearing Afro beat music for years. So everybody here is just now getting on it. But like, yeah, there's that. Um, let's see. Y'all over here fight. Teacher Moses. Yeah. You know, me and my friend, we were supposed to see Teacher Moses at a show a few months ago, and they had the wrong billing. So when we went there, it wasn't Teacher Moses. It was Kanye Doss. It was is it Glenn Lewis? Remember Glenn Lewis? He came out in like 2001, and somebody else. And I mean, it was still a good show, but I was like, this wasn't what we came for. But okay, all right. Um, visit the museums; they're free, especially African American Museum. Yes, visit those museums if they're free, especially the African American Museum. If you live in DC or if you're in the DMV, you know all the Smithsonian museums are free. Definitely check those out. Um, Dreamer, I wish Bow Wow would sit the f down. Oh dang, I think scrolled. I don't. Where's it at? It scrolled. I don't even know where it's. Oh, would sit the f down. I'm sick of his still stuck in 2005. So I think Bow Wow was going through what a lot of child stars who fall off go through, where if you're introduced to fame at a really young age and it's like almost pandemonium type thing, because you know when Bow Wow came out, it was like girls were after him crazy. He had like the Twix, was it Twix? He had the Twix commercials, he had the movies, he had the albums. You know, he had all. He was Mr. 106 in Park. He had all that at a really young age. Money thrown in his face. I'm sure there were grown women that probably, if they could, you know, if it was legal, they would have slept with him. Like he had that kind of attention going. And so when you go from that and that transition into adulthood isn't as great. Like that's the thing when you're a child star, especially if you're a rapper who comes out as a child star, nobody takes you seriously as a lyricist as you get older, unfortunately. I think that happened with Little Mama. You know, I think she has so much talent, but she's always written off. And I think some of it comes from the fact that when she came out, she was so young, and that first single, that lip gloss song, was kind of marketed towards the youth, and so were a lot of the songs that came after that. And so, and even with Romeo, they all were young coming out, and so yeah, they're fun for the teenagers, but when they become adults, you know, people are like, I'm not gonna put you in the same room with a Nas. You don't get to sit in the same room with Lil Kim or Nicki or whoever else. You know, you don't get to sit in the same room with Jay Z or Wayne. You know, it's like you don't get that same luxury. And so Bow Wow, I think, is somebody who is trying to, I don't want to say stay relevant, but it's like he continue. You know how like if you've ever gone fishing and you've been out there for 3 or 4 hours and nothing is biting, eventually you start getting not desperate, but you start trying to find new ways to reel in the fish. So maybe the worm wasn't working. So you get rid of the worm, you get a night crawler, a different kind of worm, you throw it and it's still not working. Now you go to the fake bait and you throw it and it's still not working. And now you get something else and you throw it and you get desperate, you get a piece of cheese and put it on the hook and throw it. Bow Wow's at this stage where he's just throwing out anything. Anything to get some kind of attention, some kind of support. And I think it might even be like a psychological thing. I don't know if you ever saw that clip where he's walking on the sidewalk and there's some kids behind him and he's like, oh my God, they don't know it's me. And I'm like, they don't know who you are. And I mean that from a place of love. But yeah, it just, I don't know. So yeah, he's been doing some out of pocket stuff lately. Moving on. Um, Calvin, have you considered having a guest person on your podcast? With the podcast, you know, the initial plan for the podcast was not to go the way that it currently is. Like the podcast has really become centered on just storytelling. Because initially I had the first 2 episodes were supposed to be storytelling, and then I was going to kind of start talking politics and race and maybe have a guest or two on. But the reception I got from the podcast, people really like the storytelling. I think maybe because on my YouTube channel, a lot of times my videos are so heavy as far as if we're talking race or just life or whatever else it is. I think some people like to see my funny side because you don't get to always see it on YouTube. You know, I try to add it with like my in the news stories, and I try to do the lighter stories first and give some humorous commentary and then get into the heavier subjects. With the podcast, it's usually just straight up, you know, I get to really just be unapologetically silly the whole time as I recall these different events that happen. But I do want to shift the podcast a bit, only because listen, I'm gonna run out of stories at some point. Ain't that much happened in my life. So as far as having guests on, I can see it. Speaking of podcasts, there's a podcast called the Nostalgia Podcast. I did an episode for. You can also check that out. It was a different podcaster, and I was the guest on that show. What's it called? The Nostalgia Podcast. Uh, so that if you want to just and in that podcast we were talking, yeah, Prime Nostalgia Podcast. Definitely check that one out. I did that one a few weeks, maybe a few months ago. In that episode, we were just talking about, you know, reminiscing on like music and movies and stuff from back in the day. Um, Speaking of interviews, I actually have a radio interview next week in the Bay Area. So those of you in the Bay, what's the station? Let me see. I got to pull it up real quick. It is, and it's like one of the, I think it's one of the talk radio stations. It is KPFA. What is that? Let me type in a thing real quick. KPFA. So those who are in like Richmond, Oakland, 94.1. So those in the Bay, 94.1. On Tuesdays when I do that interview, I don't know if it's live. It might be a pre-taped one and they air it later, but 94.1. So those who are like Oakland, San Francisco, Concord, Vallejo, Pittsburgh, Antioch, Benicia, Berkeley, maybe, I don't know if it's going to make it as far as Sacramento, but that whole region, if you're out there, definitely look out for it. I would gladly share the link when they post it, if they post it. All right. All right, where are we at? I want to see a few more things y'all got to see in here. All right. By the way, apparently I need glasses as well. I blame it on doing 2 albums and having to constantly look at a screen. Jeremy said, if I made my millions at 10 years old, I would take a bowl of humble soup and sit my you-know-what down. Yeah, you notice that with a lot of child stars where they have a hard time transitioning into adulthood, especially if the success is not the same, you know? What's up, Wolfie? Welcome. Somebody said maybe collaborate with another YouTuber. I'm not against that. I'm not against working with other people. I don't know how to go, but you know, I'm up for it. We'll see. You know, I do want to shift a lot of things as I continue to grow the channel. Like, to be honest, the channel didn't really start growing until a few years ago. But I'm so grateful for those who rode with me in the beginning years. Y'all are the real MVPs because a lot of y'all are still here. Yeah. Validity's therapy. All right. Chloe and Holly, I don't know if they found their sound yet, but they're very talented. I did like their project. It was a great project, but I still think there's somewhere else they can go. I see it. I'm anxious to see what the next project will sound like. I said that about Sierra when she first came out. I remember saying I can't wait to see what the second album sounds like. And then I feel like that was her best album, even though it didn't sell as much as the first one. I definitely thought the evolution, you saw the artistic growth. Like, the only thing about when you're a new artist on a major label is you don't get a whole lot of say in what you're going to do. They just tell you, okay, this is what you're doing, and put it out there. Unless you were an artist that wrote, produced, and did everything already, and you already had a fan base that followed you, then the label would hop on that and say, well, let's continue that and let's go in that lane. But a lot of times when you just get signed cold, and because you could sing or maybe you could dance or everything like that, they get to call the shots on what you're going to do. You know, so that's why I always like to see people's sophomore album if they make it to that album. Because look at somebody like Rihanna, who, if you go back to when she first came out, you know, they gave her some extremely, extremely generic music with the Music of the Sun album. You know, you had Pond to Replay, even though I thought If It's Loving That You Want was a dope song. If you listen to some of the other tracks on that album, they're okay. They're just kind of songs that are just there. And when you fast forward to the later albums like Unapologetic or Anti, you totally hear, you wouldn't even think it's the same artist. You know what I mean? Because as you come out with more albums and as they're successful, you get a say and you kind of get more control of how you want things to be put out there. And so they've done a good job with Rihanna, especially since she's not really hands-on with a lot of it. It's kind of, she just show up to sing, but you know, they found what works for her. So good for her. And she does do a little bit of writing these days. Where are we at? PJ Morton is great. We like PJ. Another question, Calvin, do you think Beyonce could potentially surpass Michael Jackson in a few years? Okay, this is my conversation on that. I think I've said that before. The issue we have in 2019 is that we're in an era that likes to eclipse and erase. And so rather than celebrating anything that comes before and still holding it as a standard in addition to what comes up with it, we have this thing where it's like, picture if there was a wheel, all right? And so it's like, maybe Michael's on this wheel, and as time progresses, he goes, and the next person comes up. But when you get to the bottom of the wheel, you drop off. Like, that's what our society does. And I've said in the past, every great artist, they push what the goal should be. The goal, in my opinion, when artists like Dinah Washington, Billie Holiday, the Nicholas brothers when they did sing. All of them. I feel like their goal back in the 40s and 50s and 60s at the time were to push and open the lane for the next generation, which would open the next lane for the Arethas and the Sam Cooks and the Jackie Wilson and the Temptations and the Natalie Coles, and then that opens the lane for the next generation. And so when you get to the Michaels, the Princes, the Janets, the Whitneys, the Mariahs, they took the industry so far. There's a road that they took, and they opened so many doors, so many. And so when I see somebody like a Beyonce who's able to now go on a whole stadium tour, she can go to the VMAs and say, I'm going to perform for 20 minutes or I'm not performing. And they say, okay. That to me is the result of the doors that were open before her. So they took the road and they took it to an extent. And then when they got off and said, okay, I'm going to live life now. And some of them are still doing music, those who are still alive, I feel like it's a checkpoint where Beyonce got to start. So yes, she still did the groundwork, but that checkpoint of being able to, do a lot of things she's been able to do is because those lanes were open. So I feel like with each generation, your job is to go from where they took you and go even further. It doesn't mean that you surpass what somebody's already done or you're better than them. It just means that because those before you did so well at what they did, and you studied their gift, you studied their talent, and you appreciated what it was they did, you did your job well as well. And so now you also get to go further. And in some instances, you're given access to new doors that didn't even exist for the Michaels or the Janets or everything. Like one of the things I always say about Janet and the Super Bowl, and I guess you can kind of see it now. I used to always say it's so cool to be a live performer today because there's so much technology. If you're like a visual performer, there's so much technology that can enhance your performances, like as far as the lasers and the technology and the LCD screens and the water and all this other stuff. Like you go back just 25 years ago, a lot of that technology didn't exist. You really just had a raw stage and talent. So when you look at somebody like Janet's Super Bowl performance, minus the boo part, when you look at the stage, it literally was just a stage and some balloons, and it's her. And the only thing that carried that performance was literally her. When you fast forward to today, the cool thing is you can have a great artist performing, but in addition, there's all kind of lasers. Like I remember when I saw Beyonce's the first Super Bowl performance, I was like, this is cool. She was laying on the floor and the light was shaped like her body and everything, even though she wasn't in the right spot, but she was on the floor and it was shaped like her body, and that was happening. And they had holograms and stuff. I was like, dang, man, performances have gotten so enhanced these days. And so that's one of the other aspects. I think people see what these newer artists get to do, like especially when Beyonce did the Billboard Awards, where she just did the whole show and she moved and the screen behind her was animated to her body and everything like that. Like none of that existed, but people will see that and automatically they will use that as leverage to place judgment on artists that came before who didn't have that same kind of access. Imagine if some of that stuff existed in the 80s and the 70s and not just for the era of those who came out in the 80s. Imagine if Tina Turner had all that back in the 70s. You know what I mean? And so I never look at anything as somebody surpassing somebody. I look at it more as somebody has been able to reach success because of the works of somebody else. And so I don't equate Michael and Beyonce. I think they can exist in their own spaces. But I always find it funny that people will put Beyonce on this pedestal and erase every other female entertainer before her and automatically equate her to Michael. Because in my opinion, I always felt, because people always say Janet's biggest competition was Madonna, I felt Janet's biggest competition was Michael. Like they grew up in the same house, had the same influences. They were literally not the same artists because they were very different, but I always felt that was her competition. And indirectly, it's funny when you go and you talk about greatest, performers and stuff, and you really get to women, Janet always gets chopped out of the mix. And I think people associate that with the fact that maybe she wasn't the strongest vocalist, but that didn't take away with what she did. You watch something like that Velvet Rope Tour, I still have yet to see anybody do half of the stuff that was done on that stage. And it wasn't just dancing. It's just the whole idea of how that show was presented. Everything from the lighting to and it's a raw show. There's not a lot of hoopla on the stage. It's literally her, some dancers, and some bits. Like you have moments where, because people always say, well, all she does is dance. A lot of the show, she's not even dancing. She's on the floor. She's sitting on the stool doing whatever. I just think you can celebrate everybody without tearing somebody else down. And so if you want to have the conversation of Beyonce surpassing Michael, my question would be, well, what is it that she's surpassing? Are you talking tour attendance? Because Michael still has that. Are you talking album sales? Michael still has that. But then to be fair, the industry's changed. Now everything is streaming anyway. So you can't even, Beyonce is, and I'm not trying to bash her or not, but what I'm saying is she comes out of a different era. She happened to still be around when they were still doing a little bit here and there, but she's a new era. So she's like, it would be like comparing a parent to their child. Beyonce was, she did her Beyonce stuff, but at the end of the day, she's not peers with Michael or Whitney or any of them. She's in her own, and even Rihanna is not even Beyonce's peer in my opinion, because Rihanna came out much later after. I didn't ever like when people would try to do the Beyonce versus Rihanna thing. I'm like, they're two different calibers and two eras. That it's just Beyonce's era has been so successful, it bled into the next era, and she's still here. So I look at it as you can celebrate everybody, and you don't always have to go out of your way to tear down folks all the time. And it works both ways, because people who are fans of older artists love to come in and tear down the newer ones, even the newer ones who may be good. And then people who like the newer ones just act like the older ones didn't happen at all. But again, Michael holds records and accolades, and there's some things that he's done that will never be. It's never going to be top. Beyonce has that too. Janet has that. Tina Turner has that. Stevie Wonder has that. Prince has that. Aretha has that. No, I'm about to turn this into a song. Natalie has that. Oh, dang, her name doesn't float my rhythm. Natalie has that. Earth, Wind, and Fire has that. Like, it just goes and it goes and it goes. So, it just depends where you're at. All right. Moderators, y'all better start blocking whoever y'all fussing with. All right. Let's see. J-Lo can't sing. Yes, we know. Even I do think J-Lo's a cool performer a little bit. Yeah, vocally, yeah, just and around the house voice. Oh, I left out. Yeah, Luther. We love Luther too. Luther's great. Luther, I think. Listen, for male vocalists, I always side eye when people ask, especially new R&B male singers who come out, when they ask who are their inspirations vocally. I feel like if I don't hear the name Luther, Stevie, Marvin, Michael, I start side eyeing like, where are you going with this? You one of them four better be on your list. Okay, no ifs, ands, or buts. Even though I also think there's some who were always left out. Like Phil Perry is so underrated, but it's because he just never really caught on. People Bryson, great vocals. People Bryson really sings. Here we are. Where are we at here? And we're not about to start fighting with all the stand stuff. We don't got time. Where are we at? Okay, you're saying, but she's MJ in today's terms of fame and notoriety. I just say Beyonce is Beyonce in today's terms. You know what I mean? Like, let's just say I were to get a record deal and really have a music career. I don't want to be this generation's anybody. I would just want to be me. You can, if you're having a conversation about impact, yeah, you can say she's kind of giving that Michael thing. But then, to be honest, when Michael was at his peak, there was nobody else seeing him. There was he would have the best. Like Thriller at one point was selling 1 million copies a week for several weeks. And mind you, Thriller came out in 1982. It was still selling 3, 4, 5, 600,000 copies a week in 1984. There was nobody else seeing him. With Beyonce, I think what happens is a lot of you see the attendance of the shows because she can sell the hell out of a stadium. But when you're talking album sales, it's rare that you see her on the top of the list as far as best-selling artists of that year. And it's no diss to her, but a lot of her peers are selling more than her. Do I think they should? No, I don't think Taylor Swift should be selling more records than Beyonce. But when you talk about the numbers, somebody like a Taylor Swift, the numbers eclipse what Beyonce's doing. And again, there's a million conversations to have about that because, wow, nothing that can piss you off more than watching mediocrity top greatness. But anyway, again, when Michael would come out with this stuff, it was like there was nobody else even just having that kind of success. With Beyonce, she has these albums that sell a lot, but there are people in her peer groups that still sell just as much. With Michael, when you're talking about Michael Jackson from like 1980 to about 85, he took it and ran with it. It wasn't even close for anybody else. And even when he was with the brothers, like the Victory Tour, they had to have lottery system just to get tickets because it was that in demand. You had to sign up for a lottery just to get tickets to the stadium tour. So I think Beyonce is probably the say-all be-all of music right now, but let that be Beyonce's legacy as opposed to trying to make her a shadow of somebody else. I just don't know if I'm sure it's flattering and she would want that, and so would anybody else, but if I were some entertainer, I would just want to be me. And I would still give my homage to everybody who came before me, but I don't want to be known as, that's this generation's, I'm going to just make up somebody, that's this generation's MC Hammer or some crap like that. You know what I mean? But, yeah. Moving on. And this is not taking anything away from Beyonce, by the way. This is more of a generational argument. Again, every generation is going to see things differently. The older generations are always going to go straight for Michael. My generation is going to kind of be in the middle, and the latter generations probably going to, vouch for Beyonce. And there's some who just kind of mix and intertwine. We can celebrate everybody. I definitely think what I love about Beyonce is that she gets it right every time. You know what I mean? Like she's so well studied as far as what I don't I swear she studied the careers of all of these artists before her and figured out what works and what doesn't, and she just goes from there. Um, and people are always going to give her critiques and everything, and it is what it is. Um, moving on. Okay, Tannis said Michael's way more authentic. He wrote and created a whole bunch of songs and created his own dance style. Sorry, but Beyonce didn't do that. All she does is talk. Okay. Again, that's subjective. Beyonce, she writes too. I don't want to say she's that great of a writer. I think I actually like her music more when she started getting writers. Um, Again, everything is gonna work differently for everybody. Um, I think Beyonce is the first artist to capitalize on how to be a great artist and become what you call like a social luxury entertainer, where all she has to do is burp in the mic and people will eat it up. Like and like understand the business aspect. She understands business as well as the talent, and I think that's why you see her. She's still doing a lot, but you notice she's really jumping into a bunch of endeavors. All right, we're not about to spend all day on Beyonce. No disrespect to her, but goodness, she ain't the only person that's out. I like her though. Um, Alicia Keys is legend. Dang, y'all cooking Alicia too. Y'all going off after everybody. Listen, all of these artists had co-writers as well. Somebody said MJ had co-writers. He certainly did. Yes, he did. But again, I think you just have to appreciate you can appreciate both. It doesn't have to be one's better than the other, or one is I don't know. We'll leave it alone. Everybody, you get to have that's the good thing about music. Everybody connects with an artist for whatever reason they connect for, and it becomes it is what it is. So if the artist that you just go hard for and you just live, die, and breathe this artist, if it's Erica Badu and nobody else can top her because she takes you someplace, then go ahead and you do your Erica. If it's Music Soul Child, do it with music. If it's Prince, hell, if it's Milli Vanilli, go for it. Knock yourself out. Where are we at? Snoop is bigger than Tupac. Hmm. Nah. I don't know. With Tupac, we didn't get to see what else he could have become. That's the same argument with Aaliyah. With the artists who died, you don't get to see where else they could have gone because it's like they were stopped in their tracks. I think that's why Aaliyah has so many hardcore fans because you never really got to see her get there. She was on the way and then boom, it was over. Same thing with like Selena Quintanillas. She was on her way and boom, it was over. Even with TLC, I always said TLC definitely had at least two more big eras under their belt to come, but Left Eye died, and it kind of new dynamic. All right. What do I think about Tinashe? She's she's all right. All right. Were there any grunge artists I like? Listen, I was from Washington State, that Seattle area. When I was a kid, Pearl Jam and Nirvana all the time on the radio. I probably like Nirvana a little bit more. Um, yeah, they lots of grunge, lots of heavy stuff. They played a lot of that when I was coming up. Yeah. Um, where we at? Somebody said that girl's Diet Coke Sierra. Y'all be playing, man. Y'all be playing. Y'all be playing. Ooh, y'all be playing. They should have replaced Left Eye. It wouldn't work. I think with TLC, and if you were around for it, like it just wasn't gonna work. The difference I always said between a TLC and a Destiny Child was like TLC was so unique with those three members. Like they Left Eye was her own entity. T-Boz was her own entity. Chili was her own. And the chemistry they had, even though people are like they're overrated, they weren't the best singers, they didn't write any of their stuff, but there was just a magic they had. The videos, just especially when you got to the Crazy Sexy Cool era, the videos were just this. I remember being a child watching these videos, and I remember we would be at each other's houses and stuff. And when the Waterfalls video used to come on, everybody would stop and drop to watch the video because we'd wait for it to get to the part where it would show the three of them under the waterfall, and they're like the 3D water images. And we'd spend all day trying to make out which one was. Oh wait, that was T-Boz. I could see the bang. I could see the bang. Like because at the time that kind of technology wasn't really in music videos yet, so you thought that was the coolest crap ever. So I mean, they were so unique that when Left Eye died, it wasn't gonna work with anybody else. It just wasn't. With Destiny's Child, you saw that they were able to replace Latavia and Latoya and bring Michelle into the group. And even though it's still the same name, I felt like it became a different group. Not it didn't become worse, it didn't become better. It just became a new group with a new element. I like both versions of Destiny's Child. When it first started, I was loyal to Latoya and Latavia. Like, that was jacked up what they did, man. Da, 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 da. And over time, especially when they dropped Destiny Fulfilled, I was like, you know what? I like them. So with TLC, it wouldn't have worked getting rid. Like TLC couldn't work with one of them missing. Even if it was T-Boz, I'm not gonna let's just say Chili quit the group back in the day. It was T-Boz and Left Eye. They would have been able to get somebody else and have the same success. If T-Boz quit and it was Left Eye and Chili and they got somebody else, it wasn't gonna work. You saw when they brought the Oh So Crispy chick in there and they had that song, it did nothing. It's the dynamic just changed. TLC is still a fun group, but it's just not the same. And now that they're older too, it's a different day, a different age. We're gonna wrap up soon because it's already been 2 hours. Somebody said Total was a TLC ripoff. Can we talk about their weak vocals? All right, listen. Total, help me sing. I'll say this. Total has one of my favorite songs because Raphael Sadiq produced it. Kissing You is, in my opinion, is one of the best R&B songs to come out of the 90s. It was such a good song. It's such a gem. I like Total. I didn't like No One Else. I couldn't stand that one. And Can't You See because of the vocals on it. But I love Trippin'. I like Sitting Home. I like Kissing You. Did I say Trippin'? I think I already said Trippin'. But they had some good ones. I like the song Crave. It was on the Three Strikes soundtrack. Total was cool. I think the cool thing with the 90s was because music became more visual and it also became about imaging, it wasn't always about vocals. I will say they tried it a few times with some of the vocal arrangements on some of the songs, but it fit for the sound that they had. Some people just have voices that fit whatever sound they have. I think that's how TLC was able to become so big. T-Boz's voice was unconventional at the time for a girl group in comparison to groups like In Vogue or an SWV and some of the girl groups that were before them. Having a lead vocalist that continues to sing in a lower pocket continuously, kind of on a lot of the songs, it made people more interested. Like, okay, let me check and see what this is about. She's singing way down there, but this is a nice pocket she's in. This song has some kick to it, so all right, let me test this out. So like I said before, sometimes with vocals, when you have a unique voice, sometimes can work in your favor. Now, my beef right now in music, like I said, too many people singing in cursive. Everybody's singing with these weird accents, and the crap is annoying. I'm like, everybody can't do it. I don't mind one or two of y'all doing it, but everybody. The way I love you from my heart. Ooh, I'm like, sing the national anthem. I want to see what that sounds like. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? I'm like, what? That like I can't. But anyway, moving on. Boom. All right, so let me set my little clock here because I'm about to go to bed in a little bit. I gotta get up early, so I'm gonna set my little clock here. We'll do like 10 more minutes and then I'm gonna get off. So let's set my little timer. Boom. I wish Toni would come back out, by the way. They had some really great slow jams. Okay, now y'all talking K-pop. All right, I think we talked about K-pop in the last one, so I'm gonna bypass that. My only beef with K-pop, I mean, it's okay, but like I said, the artists are so mechanical. Like, you don't feel like it's them. It's more of like, I used to really follow K-pop when I was in high school. There was this, and I remember there was this artist, Lee Highroy. You should check it out. There's this video she has called it's called 110 Minute or 10 Minute. And the part that got me is when you watch it, it's like, huh? So she has on like that jersey dress. Remember the dress Maya had on in the Best of Me video with Jay-Z? So she has one of those on. And then in the video, it's like these Korean dudes riding in the car with the top down and the other ones are playing basketball. I was like, oh, y'all got a hood out there? Like literally, because a lot of it is so rooted in pretty much emulating what Black artists are doing. They literally have taken and mastered the art form of studying us and then regurgitating what we've already done. But the problem is it's soulless. To me, it's like the movie Us, where you had like the tethered version. That's how I look at K-pop. They're extremely talented, but it's so tethered, in my opinion. It's not really them. That's what kind of turned me off to it. But I'm not gonna lie, they have some fun songs, but their stuff is not really the stuff I jump into right away. They're not my go-to playlist for Saturday morning cleaning. You know what I mean? Somebody said Black was a ripoff TLC. Well, I mean, Left Eye created or discovered them, so I think she kind of molded them to be what she envisioned TLC to be at the same time. They did kind of follow the same formula a little bit. I did like Bring It All to Me. Um, where are we at? Okay, y'all cooking Chris Brown now. All right. Does anybody remember what song went with the video where the singer was sitting on the kitchen counter and her boyfriend fed her ice cream? I don't know. Well, how long ago was that? I can't remember. Hmm. Um. Da, 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 da. Bring It All to Me. That was even though I used to laugh on Bring It All to Me when JC Chazes would do that. Are you feeling my Tim's, my baggy jeans, my thug appeal? Like, yo, what? Do you like it when I'm in? I can't keep it real. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. You so hood. All right. Thug appeal. I don't even have that, but JC has it. All right. So everyone is coming in the comments section. Y'all are really having a whole conversation. Donny Hathaway, he's a great one, isn't he? I think I skipped Donny Hathaway when I was saying my list of four. Donnie's supposed to be in that too. If you don't reference songs like "You Were Meant for Me" or "Someday We'll All Be Free" or what's another good one? I always liked his duet with Roberta Flack. The "You've Got a Friend." I love that version they did of it. I love that song. I also like "You Are My Heaven." I also like "Back Together Again." And of course, a song for you. I like Little Ghetto Boy. I even like his version of Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On." Like Donnie is a great one. Yeah, if you don't mention him, we beefing too. Um, Jeffrey Osborne. Hey, yeah, that's a good one. LTD or Love TKO. Definitely. Um, boom, 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 boom. Ed Sheeran versus Bruno Mars. I, they're cool ish. I don't really listen to their music like that, but I think they're both talented. Um, The group called Ideal. Yes, I remember them. That was Get Gone. Better leave me alone. Get your bags. Get the hell on. It's like, oh, I was like, they cussing the lady out, huh? Let's see where we at. Will I see the Harriet Tubman movie? Because I've seen there's some controversy around that too. Because a lot of people are not fans of the lead actress because of some of the things that she said about Black Americans. Because I believe the lead actress in the film is from West Africa. I mean, can I say something? I like these movies and all, but sometimes I feel that you're almost capitalizing on things that I feel should be more looked at from a historical standpoint. You can still do the movies, but it's like because there's a movie of that coming. There's another movie that's coming out where I was like, okay, I like the movies because it's a great way to give insight, but I, I I hope it's not going to become a thing where Black oppression becomes a cash cow for studios. You know what I mean? I don't know. I might see it. Plus, I'm tired of slave movies too. But I guess with Harriet Tubman, she's never had one. But still, um, man, I'm not. We'll see. We'll see. True story. I took this girl on a date one time to see freaking. Well, we were supposed to see Best Man Holiday, all right, but it was sold out because it was the week it came out. So instead, 12 Years a Slave was out at the same time. So we went to see that. I don't know what I was thinking because in that movie there was nothing good that happened. That had to be the worst thing to sit through. The whole movie was just terrible as far as everything it was just death and blood and guts and whooping and lashing and cuts and stabbed and throwing up and pooping and pissing. I was like, what is this? So by the time we left the movie, we were so pissed off. I was like, yo, I think we should go see Best Man Holiday because now like the 11 o'clock show's not sold out. Let's go see something to make us happy. Then that movie was sad. Everybody in that movie was crying at the end. I was like, my bad. The next time we just go get something to eat, man. Like, my bad. You and I, we can just grab something to eat. I'm sorry. Yeah, she was not having it that day. Anyway, how come Tony never gets legendary status? Tony Braxton will be somebody who's appreciated years later. And I think because Tony, in my opinion, had two phases of her career, maybe three. Phase one is the debut with their first album. It's huge. It sells 8 million copies in the United States alone, just from the first album. Picture selling 8 million copies in the U.S. alone of your first album. Huge era. Then the Secrets album comes out. It sells even more. I just read an article where they're saying it's finally been certified diamond in the United States, meaning it sold at least 10 million copies. But overall, globally, it's at like 20 something million copies. And so I feel like the second era is that era where she's just huge. But unfortunately, it leads into her third era because then comes the bankruptcy. And so with the bankruptcy, that comes And also with Secrets was interesting because it's a great R&B gem, but they also dipped and dabbed into the more adult contemporary Diane Warren type songs that, Celine Dion would sing. So even though she was still marketed as an R&B artist, they were also marketing her as like a Barbara Streisand type. And, she'd do the gowns and the this and the that. And so you fast forward, the bankruptcy hits, and now she comes out with The Heat. And The Heat is very R&B. So all of the fans who might have jumped on board for the whole Barbara Streisand vibe no longer are following Toni, because now, the albums are extremely R&B. The Heat was a nice album though. And then the follow-up album was More Than a Woman, which was now infused with hip hop. And so you lost that audience. And then at the same time, she didn't get to really promote More Than a Woman because she was pregnant. And then of course you have the element of ageism kicking in. And so by the time she gets to the Heat, she's on Blackground. And we know what happened with Blackground Records. Things didn't go too well. And so, that's why you can't find the Libra album on most of the streaming sites. And even that the singer JoJo was on that label, and just chaos and chaos. So it's like she still came out with a lot of great projects, because I don't think Toni Braxton has a bad album. It's just the commercial impact died out. And I think because of the bankruptcies, people use that to chip away. People like to cook and mock her for that, that's the one thing about being an artist. You get, when you have any kind of flaw or something goes wrong, you get made fun of. And I think what sucked with Toni is, in addition, because she had the health issues, like that Flamingo Hotel sued her for like $7 million when she had to quit the residency because she had the condition. Like she had a heart condition and she had the lupus and everything like that, So I think people chip away at the legacies when, things happen. I think it sucks, but I think she'll always be appreciated, especially people who are music heads, who really are into vocals and everything, who don't just base legendary status on success and sales, but they base it on talent and impact. Because you can't deny the fact that like somebody like Toni has inspired a lot of other altos. Because I always say my favorite altos: Gladys Knight, Toni Braxton, Anita Baker, Layla Hathaway, and I think Brandy's an alto, so I'll put her in there. Anyway, I never got to see that Toni show either. Jill Scott, she's one of my favorites as well. I think her best album, or my favorite two Jill albums, are Who Is Jill Scott and The Real Thing. The last album was okay. The only album of Jill's I wasn't crazy over was Light of the Sun. It was all right. I wasn't too crazy over it. All right. Dang, y'all having a Mary versus Faith argument. Dang. Well, to be fair, Faith wrote a lot of stuff on Mary's albums too. But okay. Faith is a much better singer, yes. All right. Where are we at here? SWB, yes, they were singers. What I always found interesting, by the way, is the fact that so many of the male acts never sold as much as the women. Like black women really just ran the music industry in the 90s, to be honest. But the men, even though they had these, like you had Boys the Men who had a big blockbuster out, well, two blockbuster albums, but a lot of the male acts didn't do the same thing. Like as much as Tevin Campbell is a gem for Can We Talk, like that album I think sold 2 million copies. Jodeci, for as great as they were, they go platinum here and there, double platinum. Somebody like Jesse Powell went gold. There we go. Kenny Lattimore, maybe gold. I don't know who else. I mean, Usher sold a lot. I'm skipping some people, man. I don't know. It was just weird. Like the males just didn't sell as much. Interesting. Anyway, in comparison to the women who were selling 8 and 9 and 10 and 15 million copies of an album, I don't know if it's maybe because women artists are in a position where they can be more vulnerable artistically. I think with men, your society will limit what you can do, especially if you're a black male singer. You got to be a certain way, because there's only so many images that they will allow you to have, because then you start becoming questionable, and then they don't want to market you and everything like that. I don't know. That was my song. What Jimmy Cole's here? The little "She's All I Got." Although she nags me and complains a lot. Yep. When my mom used to cuss me out about stuff, when I would get mad, well, me and my mom used to have this funny little beef, because we used to beef with each other through music. So say I couldn't go out and run with my friends that day or something. Like I had to be in the house at 10 or something. I would go and I'd play "She's All I Got" super loud, and I'd really make sure my mom could hear the part, "Although she nags me and complains a lot," and then I try to turn it off before it got to the "I ain't letting her go." I turned it off right before that part, just to piss her off. And then my mom, she used to always play Diana Ross, "It's My House." So every time I pissed her off, like, "Hey, mom, you da-da-da-da-da," after she cussed me out and tell me about herself, then she'd go play Diana Ross, "It's My House," and talk trash while the song was playing. So Diana would be like, "It's my house, and I live here. Don't wash no dishes. It's my house and I live it. Can't even drive good. It's my house and I live it. He think he grown. I'm like, and then she'd be talking so much trash and be singing along, and I used to get so mad. And then my dad would be like, "Y'all are crazy. All y'all be quiet." Anyway, somebody said male acts are scared to hit high notes. I don't think they're scared to hit high notes. I just think a lot of the ones that are out can't do it, to be honest. They've kind of focused on getting all the monotone singers, and I don't know why. You can have the monotone singers, they're needed, but I'm like, you can diversify and mix the pool up a little bit. Give it a little bit of everything. I miss the era of the Joes and the Phil Perrys and the Kevon Edmonds from I'm about to say High Five, from After Seven, sorry. And even his brother, God rest his soul, the brother just passed away. But I do miss or Wanye from Boys and Men or Casey and JoJo, like those who could squall and just hit all kind of notes. Or Cisco even could really sing and really put it out there. I miss hearing all of that. You don't get that as much. Or RL from Next. I always say, like, one of the best songs, like Deborah Cox, We Can't Be Friends, that duet with RL from Next, those are some super vocals. You don't get that in the mainstream at the moment. I'm like, man, we can all sing down here, but sometimes you need that song when you're going through it. Just, you just go and you almost recreate the whole music video in the living room while the song is blasting. I can't do that with a lot of the new stuff that's out because everybody's singing way down here and they just sing right here. And then the music isn't even that lively either. All right. Let's see. Y'all still talking K-pop in here? Oh, Genuine. Yeah, great vocalist. Do you think Oprah is losing credit because of the Monique, Harvey, and MJ controversy? I do think people are starting to. The thing with Oprah, I'll say this before I tell my 2 cents on Oprah. Like, Oprah has done a lot of great work, the scholarships and everything, and helping the students from Morehouse. But the issue I think that I've had with Oprah in the past few years is I feel like Oprah's somebody who only likes a certain kind of Black person. Like, she's only going to align herself with the Black elite kind of folks. You know what I mean? Like, she's not going to align herself or speak on behalf of other folks. I'm not going to, how do I word this? I'm trying to word this a different way. I just feel like there's certain people she approves of, and that's who she supports. And anybody who she feels is not there, she's not even going to acknowledge. With the Monique situation, Monique already got enough stuff going as far as her situation. I do think people did look at Oprah differently. Like, okay, you brought on the man who molested her on your show after she asked you not to. That's questionable. For her to hop on the Michael Jackson documentary when the documentary had no tangible evidence, it was all the word of mouth of the 2 alleged victims. And then there were so many loopholes, and critics and people who did their research went and tore that documentary apart and said, this part's not true, this part's not true, that part's not true, that part's not true, this train station wasn't even here, this wasn't even the right year. And for you to still, jump on that, and then you have a whole sit down and you pretty much made this man the face of all pedophilia stuff and everything like that. And the man's already dead and not here to defend himself and everything like that. And so pretty much what that's saying is that documentary trumps a 10-year investigation from the FBI. And so you can have your viewpoints on what you think about Michael Jackson, but I think stuff like that makes people look at Oprah a little differently. Like, especially because Oprah's made so much money off of the Jacksons. You got to remember, when Michael died, one of the first things they did was they had a reality show with some of the Jackson kids on there. And you gave LaToya Jackson a show. Janet came on there. She was supposed to be promoting the Tyler Perry movie, and you were asking her about, did the family do an intervention with Michael's drugs? And so, you've made all this money off that family. And then when the man is dead and long gone, and whatever happens, here you come and you jump back and you open this new Pandora's box with a documentary that's been challenged, and people are not really looking at it as, okay, we need something tangible in here. You can't take away from the account of somebody who's an alleged victim, but dang, if you're going to have a whole documentary, can we get something, especially if the facts are not adding up? That's my opinion on that. Y'all don't have to agree, but it is what it is. Anyway, y'all, we're about to get off of this thing here. I'm gonna scroll right past that comment I just read. Somebody said, or she said, Beyonce pays homage to Janet. Yes, that's why I've never had a beef with Beyonce. Is not somebody who ever talks trash about other entertainers. I've always felt she was humble with how she's done things. That's why I don't know. I hate that there's always the 2 fandoms, the Beyonce and Janet fans just. Meanwhile, I'm enjoying both of them, having me a great time. I'm like, y'all, okay, you go on any Janet video, any Beyonce video, you're gonna see one of the two names in the comment section. They wish they could do it like this. Who has that kind of energy and time? It's not that deep. Plus, at the same time, all these people are rich. They're not thinking about us like that anyway. We give too much energy to celebrities, way too much. Anyway, um, y'all are really hanging with me. Y'all like, listen, we be doing these lives. I be waiting for the count to drop to like 5 people. Y'all really be on here. Like, it be, we could probably be on here till 2 in the morning, and some of y'all would still be on here. I appreciate it. Um, all right, I think we're almost done here, folks. I would like to get my sleep on. Plus, I took the kids to the trampoline park. You know those like parks where the whole room is a trampoline. You just do all this jumping. I was in there getting it in, but after 20 minutes, I was so tired. Like, man, and I had paid for like an hour and a half. So I was like, all right, got to get my money's worth. Boom, 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 boom. Doom, doom, doom. You think they fight? Try looking at. Oh yeah, I see that too. Somebody said you think they fight. Look at Aaliyah and Beyonce. Yeah, same thing. The Aaliyah fans always say if it. Hold on, I see about a million sirens outside. My business. But you'll see a million. The Beyonce fans who say, oh, and hold on, let me backtrack. Aaliyah fans will say, Beyonce wouldn't be Beyonce if Aaliyah didn't die, and we never got to see what Aaliyah was gonna do, but this, that, and third. And then Beyonce fans are like, yeah, right, you wish, and so on and so on. They just keep going. What show on KPFA will I be on? Let me check the email really quick. I believe the show. I don't actually know the actual name of the show, but the producer was telling me that they have two radio programs. One is a music underground kind of show, and the other is a politics. And so what we were gonna do was talk music and politics on one of the shows. I don't know the name of the show, but the DJ. Do I have it on here? Hold on, y'all. Sorry. Um, where's her email at on here? Where's it at? Oh, that's wrong. Wrong email. I get so many of these. It's hard to keep up with everything. I must have scrolled past it. Oh, here it goes. Sorry about that. All right, it is. What's the name of the show? What's the name of the show? Oh well, Jeannie Etter is the host, so that's the host. Um, or Queen Jaheen. I'm not sure the name of the show. I'll give you the details when I get it. All right. All right. A little bit more and we're done here. Oh, y'all having R. Kelly arguments. Okay, I'm gonna scroll past that one today. Um, they are throwing the book at that man, huh? Yeah. For those who want my opinion on R. Kelly, just watch my video on it. Fly Lee, you right. I'm gonna just have to rush off. Can we listen to it online? Yes. So she was telling me after I do the interview, they'll have a link as well, and so I will gladly share that with you guys afterwards. Plus, I can't wait to go to the beach. Like that's the main thing I want to do when I get like to LA after I leave Oakland. I'm going straight to the beach. I want to go to the water. Like the beaches on this side aren't that great. Like I don't like Virginia Beach. I don't really like Ocean City. Myrtle Beach is cool, and that's as far south as I'm going because that's like an 8-hour drive, and there's nothing up north to really go to that I like. But yeah, so I want to go to one of those nice California beach. I am playing music. That's probably what you guys hear in the background. I totally forgot to turn it off, so I might need to demonetize this video so YouTube don't try to yank me. Um, Oh, Calvin, what do you think about Lori and Diddy? That's Steve Harvey's daughter, right? The girl that's like 21 and she's allegedly dating Diddy. I don't know what that's about. That's very awkward though. I just feel like I don't know if they're just having fun or what, but it's everybody to each his own, to each his own. I just know for me with dating, I don't go past like age 24, 23 now, just because I'm in a different headspace. I have no interest in dating somebody that's 21 or like 18. I don't know what Diddy has lived and been all around the world. I don't know what he could possibly gain from somebody that's 21, but it is what it is. I still think Kim Porter, I wish he would have done right by Kim Porter because I feel like they were supposed to be soulmates, but oh well. Oh, stepdaughter. Okay, that's the stepdaughter. You said Lori wasn't even alive when Biggie died. Uh, Somebody said, "Why is it that people say Mariah is the only bird singer? I know Minnie Riperton was first. No, you got Minnie Riperton. You got Shantae Moore. You got a few vocalists that sing like that. It again. It is what it is. Um, that's true. Somebody saying R. Kelly's music is phenomenal, but it's so hard to even enjoy it fully. That was a hard page to turn with R. Kelly because R. Kelly has some really great music, and his stuff is a lot of it is the sound of the '90s with the production. He's done a lot of great work. Unfortunately, I wish he would have been able to get the help he should have gotten. I said that when I saw the documentary where they talked about him being a victim of sexual assault as a kid and it was never taken care of. I always say, I wonder where we would be today had that been taken care of when it happened to him as a child. I'm not giving him a pass for anything he did because there's a bunch of people today who are victims of sexual assault as adults and they didn't use that as an excuse to go and do it to other people. But he seriously, it's a lot going on there. It's a lot. Sad to watch as well. Melba Moore, yeah. If I had a favorite Minnie Riperton song, I always like Memory Lane. There's a great performance on YouTube. It's like her next to the last performance before she dies. And at this point, she's already paralyzed on the one side. So while she's singing, she just has the arm kind of there and she's singing. It's a great performance. She has on all black. And then I think the one after that is she has this little teal outfit on, and that was her last performance. But both of those are really good. It's kind of interesting because while she's singing it, it feels like she's really like the part where she's talking about save me." It feels like she's really saying like "save me" because she knows that the end is coming. It's kind of it's interesting, but it's a great performance. It's a great performance. Will you support Elizabeth Warren if she's the nominee? Um, when I tell you I'm unmoved and unfazed by a lot of these candidates, I will say with Elizabeth Warren, I like that she really has her backing and stuff like solidified as far as where she stands on a lot of things. I like that she's always talked economics. She was somebody I was following before she announced she was president. Um, I just would like to see my only concern. I wish black folks could finally be on the page of priority. We never get they don't ever care about us like that. And when you bring up conversations about making black people whole for whatever their experiences are, it's always merged into the classism conversation. And I keep trying to say black poverty is not the same as white poverty because black poverty was endorsed and supported by the government. White poverty was not in the same extent as far as black poverty. I would like to see more candidates address issues that affect black folks to an extent. You can take care of everybody else too, but we always it was interesting watching the last two debates and how when it got to black folks, they talked about us for about 2.5 minutes and they spent the rest of the time talking about everybody else. Elizabeth Warren, I do think she's one of the stronger candidates, but I right now I'm not sold on anybody yet. But if she were the nominee against Trump, hell yeah, I'm voting for her. I'm not voting for Trump. And the reason I wouldn't give my vote to the independent candidate is because unfortunately you already know that they're not going to win. I think that's a crappy way to look at it. But as far as my thing is, I just need Trump out. Not because of him being the president, but because of the fact that he gets to appoint court judges. That's my biggest beef is the court judges and all of the agencies that he's over. That's what's eating me alive. Trump is going to be Trump. He has no real power of I take that back. He has power, but the issue is those people he's putting in those positions get to stay after he's out if they're not fired or whatever. So that's what I'm more so worried about. So yeah, I need somebody to get him up out of there. But I'm not sold on anybody. Nobody has me excited. And I think maybe it just comes with getting older. And I hear a lot of people say that as well. Like after you get out of your early 20s, you really start becoming extremely critical of all the candidates. But Trump got to go. Bernie, I'm not. Bernie gets on my nerves too with that because any kind of black issue he puts in the classism bubble. We can talk classism, but even with classism, there's still the element of race that plays into that. And we'll see. We'll see where this goes. This is an interesting election to follow. I keep wishing that there'll be some magical candidate that shows up out of nowhere and is perfect. But unfortunately, there's no such thing as a perfect candidate. So I'm not sold on anybody yet. Plus, it's only August of 2019. We got a whole year and some months. So who knows what's going to happen? Who knows where the policies and stuff will go? So I'm just watching from the side at the moment, but I'm still involved. I'm not sold on anybody. I think it can be almost dangerous if you lock yourself with a candidate a year and a half early before and ride with them all the way. Because what if they end up becoming a flawed candidate, but you're still riding with them out of loyalty? I don't know. Ain't no Trump 2020. I can't do it. Nope, 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 nope. He got to go. Marianne Williamson. She has a lot of people's attention because she talked about reparations, but that was nice, but the figures are off. $500 billion ain't enough. $500 billion. Well, first she said $100 billion before the debate. When you do the math, when you talk about anybody who's a descendant of slaves in this country, that's only a few $1,000s a piece. And what would happen if that was reparations? You know, in this country, once everybody get that little $6 or $7 or $8,000, the country would be like, all right, y'all have been made whole. Y'all ain't got no more excuses. Everything's good now. We can cut affirmative action. We can cut this. We can cut that. We can cut that. We don't got to fund HBCUs anymore. We can cut all of that. So enjoy. So if you're going to solely make reparations a figure as far as money, you're going to have to get into the trillions. Because I know this country will dump us as soon as they get that check. That's it. Y'all on your own. Y'all have no excuse now because now you're $30,000 richer. So there's that. Where are we at? What music genre prediction will be dominated or will be dominated in 2020 in the next year? Um, I think pop is going to make a different kind of comeback. I think. I think R&B definitely has to. R&B is doing great, but they're going to have to spruce it up a bit and diversify the different sounds. I think pop is about to make another comeback, and I mean hip hop is always going to be there, but I think you're going to start seeing more of. You're going to start seeing more unconventional hip hop acts emerge. That's what I think is going to happen. Andrew Yang, um, I don't think he's lying when you talk about the automated jobs bit. And I know he wants to give everybody 1,000 a month, but what I see happening with that is if you give everybody 1,000 a month, I see the inflation coming, and I feel like eventually that 1,000 a month would eventually not carry the same pool that would it would have today. And I don't think that would still it would help a lot of people. I don't know if that will fix the issues we have. I don't know who knows. We'll see. I, he had an interesting debate the second time. The first time he fell off a little bit, but he did better the second time. Biden seems weak and befuddled. I don't even know if Biden knows what day of week it is. Biden just be up there saying anything. But in my, I'm already predicting Biden's going to end up being the nominee at this rate. I see it happening. And then, all right. Somebody said you can't go in being radical. To an extent, I agree, but I feel like you can still endorse certain policies. It doesn't always have to equate to being radical, but it's just bringing light to issues that have never been taken care of. Especially if you're going to talk about like something like reparations. You know, had the United States done right by those who were victims of slavery years ago, I'm talking 150 years ago, way back then, we wouldn't be having this conversation today because at least you could have said you gave everybody what they were supposed to get then, but you didn't. And so instead of that, right after slavery, you kept them in other forms of slavery and oppression. And then came the sharecropping and the limited access to housing and all kind of things that became, pretty much structured and institutionalized. And so now when you get to 2019, like I said, that generational and residual revenue and money that is owed, it's on a much larger scale. And there's more people. When slavery ended, there was only about 4 million people who had been free. There was only 4 million people who were once enslaved. Today, you have a black population of about 40 million. And then when you chop off or you count those who specifically have a lineage to slavery, it's a few million shorter, but still, you got at least 20 million people that you're going to have to make whole now. And so now they're all running from it, and it seems radical today. So it is what it is. All right, guys, I'm getting off in exactly 1 minute because I need to go to bed. Inflation is an excuse for banks to not play fair. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Um, De Blasio, I think not. Can't do it. Can't do it. Somebody said Trump doesn't guarantee a win for blacks. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That doesn't mean we're gonna be better off if he doesn't win. The reason I really need Trump out mainly is because in this country, I know this sounds crazy, but when white people are doing terrible, it trickles down and we end up doing even worse, unfortunately. You still, as far as the stability of the country, if the stability is fractured, we're the first ones who get chopped right off the bat. We're the first ones every single time. So at least for the sake of stability, like at least when I vote, like I don't vote blindly for either party. Like I used to be a 100 Democrat all day when I was like 18, 19. And then as I got older, I was like, okay, I'm more independent now. So I vote for what makes sense. But you know, I lost my train of thought just now. Jesus, I'm getting too old for this. No, I'm kidding. Um, but pretty much at this point, when I vote for what makes sense because I think of first thing I think of is I think of one, how does that affect the country, and two, how does that affect the group in which I come from, and how does that affect us 20 and 30 years from now? Those are the main things I think of when I vote. Um, so there's that. Um, Somebody said, "How his life improve?" Okay, y'all beefing. Y'all go ahead and do it. Knock yourselves out. Um, I don't know. We'll see. 2020 will be interesting. Sorry, my I didn't. I totally forgot I had my music on in the background. I have my little concentration playlist on, so it's been playing a bunch of like R&B, mellow tracks and everything like that. Um, so my bad about that. Anyway, this has been great, y'all. I'm gonna try my best to make sure I at least have one or two videos uploaded for you guys. Because, like I said, I won't be. I leave out on Saturday, and I'm not back home until the 18th. But I do have some videos for you guys that will be uploaded. But there won't be an in the news because I won't be in front of all my stuff. Most likely, I'm gonna upload a podcast episode. I'll probably upload another song for my album. I'm gonna try my best to upload my shout out series video because it's long overdue. I'm gonna try to have those uploaded for you guys. Anyway, this has been great. Mods, I appreciate y'all. Y'all did your thing over here. Good night. Please be safe. Enjoy your weekends. And keep an eye out since people are crazy and folks shooting up everything all the time. Just keep your eye out. That eye out and that one. Anyway, I'm out. Good night.